Come on, chat. Taking forever to load. I could post the link through StreamYard, but I couldn't pin it. There we are. Hello, Odd.
How you going, sir?
Not too terrible. I'm still a little anxious. Got all kinds of shit going on today.
Huh. Relax, have a smoke. No rush.
I just went to my uncle's house to sight in my rifle. It took like 6 hours. It was supposed to only take 2. Took a lot longer than I expected. And then on top of that, on my way there, my freaking exhaust system on my car literally fell apart while I was driving. So,
Very well.
so I've had like a tailpipe come off before. That's not that crazy. This time it was literally the interior part, if you know what I mean. Like the pipe leading to the tailpipe came off and was dragging the pavement. It was freaking crazy. I've never had anything like that happen before.
Sparks and everything.
Yep, it was crazy. And so I pulled off on the side of the damn road and I'm like, what the fuck do I do? And so I called my aunt and luckily I wasn't too far out. So I literally dragged the ground to get there and then he sawed it off for me. Crazy.
Yeah, you can't even stick weld those. You got a MIG welder and stuff because, yeah. Well, that's if they're not corroded away.
It's corroded pretty badly. I'm going to have to replace it all.
Replace.
Well, luckily it's not an emergency. I can drive it as it is. It's just really fucking loud. It sounds like a big ass monster truck. I've got like a tiny little Honda Civic and I'll like pull up at the red light and I'm like, ring. I'm like, not even trying to. And people are like, what the fuck? It's crazy. Hello, Andy.
Yeah, just came from his morning stream, well, or evening stream for him. Excellent conversation. It's not bad.
Heck yeah.
But more science-based ideally, but rarely science-based for long.
Well, that's natural. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm finicky. Like I love a lot of science, but not all science equally. I think everybody's like that to an extent. We have our areas. To me, just science in general is too broad. Like you'll go crazy trying to learn everything. Like you just can't. In my opinion, anyway.
You
I
can learn the science structure or
Mhm.
method, the science method of learning, and that's more of an analytical than a certain knowledge and try to find a reason for your asserted knowledge. And
Right.
that's about the only real difference. You know,
That's true.
that's all I mean by
The
science thinking.
oh yeah. When it comes to the thinking of science, I completely agree. What I was talking about is the specifics of each little branch of science. Like, I'm not going to be like an expert in geography and an expert in like every single, like you just can't. You
The
don't have
chef
enough.
isn't an expert in all avenues of cooking either, but they're an expert in their specialty. You know, like that sort of.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
sort of the norm, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't used to think that way, and that's
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
fair
only
enough.
within the last few years I realized. I don't know. It's kind of obvious, but I'm special. So I used to think like my goal is to learn everything. And then like within the last few years, I'm like, again, it's obvious, but it took me forever. I lived that way for a very long time. And now I'm like, yeah, that's just retarded. You can't. That like there are people that have one specific field, just one, and they spend their whole life on that one field and they're still not like absolute experts, you know?
Hmm.
So I prefer to stick with maybe 5 things tops. This is unstructured. It doesn't have a specific topic. And this has just got started. I didn't even have time to like, usually I start at 30 minutes beforehand so people know that I'm running. Mal. What was that one type of thing? I've just been trying to learn about ball sacks my whole life, and I can't even become an expert in ball sacks. Mathematics,
Man, I
Jesus
didn't.
Christ. I suck at math. I hate math. I mean, it's important, but it's my brain is not wired for mathematics.
It's only just recently I learned that you could learn about how to learn, and that's sort of important. And if you know that, it's a lot easier than if you don't know that.
I think that's where everything should start. I don't agree with our
Yeah.
education system. It's like it's all about knowledge. They don't teach you the proper method of thinking, like analytically
Mm.
versus other ways. And that should be the beginning. That's the foundation of everything. Why do they not start with that? I don't understand.
It's memory recall. Here's this information,
Exactly.
memorize it and recall it when we
Yeah.
ask you.
And there's so
It's not
much
good enough.
I agree, and there's so much more than that because memory recall relies entirely on your memory. And I'll tell you now, I have almost no memory at all. So there's all sorts of methods to make it stick, so to speak. Like we need to be learning about, or teachers especially need to know about those methods. They need to employ them. And again, like I said, we need to focus on teaching people how to think and then teach them what to think. Mal disagrees. Why is
I
that?
only meant at the early stages. Now I understand that you transfer over learning for yourself and learning how to think and blah blah blah. But there, you know that
It
if that was a
depends.
course, that would be great, along with economics or how to do your tax return. That would also be great if they taught you that at school.
I agree with
Everyone's got to
that.
do it, man. You
I
know.
agree. So I don't oh, we got Mal coming up. Perfect.
I rock on.
He can explain what he means. Hello, Mal.
Hi, peeps.
How's it going? So what do you disagree with specifically? I'm actually curious.
I disagree that we learnt, good God, I can't even do English. We are taught
Memory recall.
memory recall, and that's all there is. I don't know what it's like over in America, but it's not like that in the UK.
So
It was at the start, like in primary school. Is all I'm getting at. Like when you're taught the alphabet and numbers and how to do your time or your addition tables and all that shit. You're not taught why that works at that stage. It's memory recall.
Of course, but if you turn around and you ask a 6 or 7-year-old, now let's think about what the alphabet might be like. You go, what? I need a P.
That's true. So, okay, I wouldn't say that this is something that should, maybe I didn't word it very well. So maybe not the beginning, but at some point, because our system, I'm only speaking from what I know, our system is basically knowledge-based through and through. Like at no point, unless you're in college, which I think is too far, like, because then you have to have secondary education, and which not many people get, or not everyone at least. Like, so I guess the argument would be, at what point do we talk about how to think, critically thinking, analytical thinking? And I don't think that it's like first grade or some shit like that. That's too much. But I do believe that it's important, and it should be taught at some point, probably sometime in high school, maybe middle school.
Yeah, I think quite early on, kids can understand it.
We are taught at late high school.
Yeah, we just started talking about this on another stream just now with Audie and Andy C. The critical thinking is going downhill very quickly, in my opinion.
Badly.
I think it's getting worse. Now, as I mentioned there are studies around that say that our critical thinking skills, our ability to, think above and beyond and problem solve, we've reached our limit. I don't know if that's a true thing or not, but I have seen a few things about it. So then there's the regression, but and people go, well, it doesn't matter because AI will do it for us anyway.
That is terrible, and I can't stand that way of thinking, because it's been very brief period of time that AI has been a thing, and in that brief window, we have a measurable decrease in the ability for people to critically think. Like we haven't even hit peak AI yet, and people have already they don't think at all. It's terrible. Like
you don't need to. As I mentioned, look at something like Grammarly, something simple, very simple, Grammarly. Okay. And you can't spell something, but you put it in and Grammarly will correct it for you. You don't have to think about it. You don't learn anything. You just move on.
I think it's terrible. Like through and through, I think that it's harming society, in my opinion.
I think we'll go downhill very quickly, in my opinion.
I agree. Not to mention, you don't want to be that reliant on AI. And I'm not trying to jump into too many conspiracy theories, but most of the experts are saying that it is not far-fetched to say that AI, hell, it's already happened. They've turned on us, like in several instances through tests that we've done. And I mean, every single one, all of them have failed. And that's scary. That's something that we should think about. We should go, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah. Like, we don't want to be that reliant on AI.
So here's perhaps not quite an opposite thought to that. I agree with that, because there are experts that I've heard talk about it who say they don't know where the AI is going to go. They haven't got a clue. And these are the people at the front end. If they don't know, I don't know.
Right.
So
right.
Here's the opposite way of doing it. If we really are at our peak and we really are liable to regress from now on, that we really need AI to feed into it to help us out. To keep us going.
My family's generally against AI, but realistically, how do you?
There's no stopping it. There's exactly. You can't stop it at this point, because it's several countries and we're in like a quote arms race, almost like a Cold War when it comes to AI. Yeah. There's no stopping it. There's no off ramp, in my opinion.
I think I have to agree with that. I don't think there's an off ramp. No, and it is like an arms war.
It's a what?
It is like an arms war, isn't it? Like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, even if we decide to take a more reasonable approach and like a skeptical approach, China's not going to. And even if we're not talking about China, we'll talk about other like first world nations. We can't control everyone. So either when I say we, I'm talking about the United States in this case, but it can apply to any country. Like if we decide to just be more measured and careful, then China ends up having like leaps and bounds in terms of technology because they're going at it full bore. So what are you going to do? Just let them like, oh, well, China wins, like, because there's more to it than just this, I don't know, an ego thing. It's not just like, I want to be the one on top. There's a whole lot that goes into that, like economics and like the military. It's sort of a precarious position. It's a big deal in my opinion.
Yeah, given the way the world works, and AI is not just something on the sidelines.
Yes,
It's
and
going to affect absolutely everything.
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 Yep.
You won't be able to work without it. You won't be able to function without it.
Yep.
And as I said, given that if we are going to be regressing, we're going to need it, which is a bit
Maybe
scary.
we needed to unite the humans better first, so that when we created the AI, it was going to learn from friendly humans rather than warring humans.
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's learned from warring humans, it's learned we're the problem.
I don't think it make any difference, to be honest with you. I think AI will go the way AI goes.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, it's already shown that it's not based on us. Like the way we traditionally thought about it is it's almost like robots. Like it's all about what it's computed for, like how it's programmed. That's not the case with AI.
That's not
It does its own shit. Otherwise, it's not AI. Like by definition, it has to be able to think outside of its programming, which means we're not really a factor. Like not a lot anyway. And that's what makes it dangerous. But at the same time, it's not going to stop. So what do you do? It's like,
Yeah, I mean, AI is not secular humanist or something.
right.
It's just, so that's not going to happen, no.
Nope.
Yeah, it's, I don't think we can do without it, but it's a scary thought. Now there is there, and there are also a thing like, there's all these different AI companies, and there's the AI development that all over the place, and they're all going to go west and bust.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a few, like the Facebook, the Google, and those kind of people. There's going to be a few who are going to make an absolute fortune out of it. And the thing with AI is those people are going to be ruling the world.
Going by that last message just there about the drones, the moment that we created a machine that could go somewhere and kill somebody and didn't have any regulations or laws about who's to blame and this kind of crap, is the moment that it really became the first step in evil in my mind. That's when you could autonomously go and kill or murder people and not be blamed for it.
That's a good point. I haven't thought about that angle of it, like the culpability angle.
Like, the very first time that happened, I mean, now they've got an elite and masterclass at doing it and not getting blamed, like individual blame.
Right. But it has to be, there has to be accountability. Otherwise, you're right. It's just pure tyranny. Like we have to find a way to link AI to its creators and hold them accountable for anything it does. Otherwise, what the fuck are you going to do? You're just going to let them like they could like shift things and like have basic, like small snippets of programming to like, hey, I don't like this guy. He's talking shit about my company. And then it like murder someone or some shit. And like, what do you do?
To my knowledge, what Fallen Stars just put up is correct too. But then that means that every AI system is running off of Google.
So that's what
And
I
then-
said about a month ago or so, and Gadwin
Okay.
actually changed my mind. I thought that
Okay.
AI, as we call it now, is not technically AI because of what you're describing. It can't think for itself. However,
That's not
there's one example, at least one example, maybe more, of AI, of actual AI. We've already developed it to where it can think outside of its programming, and it has demonstrated that it can do so repeatedly. And that's actual AI, not just using it as like a fad catchphrase. So we're already there.
Okay.
From
Is that
what
like
I know.
Sora 2? SORA 2? Sora 2?
Mhm.
I saw a few of those vids up in.
I'm bearing in mind that the
Yeah.
things that are around at the moment, baby stuff, it will develop itself.
Mhm.
It won't need Google.
We're there now. And that was the thing, because for a while I didn't get on the bandwagon because I'm like, this is not technically AI. And I'm like, a lot of people hate it. I'm a semantic Nazi because I think it matters. What you call something, it needs to fit the definition. Otherwise, you're kind of making people confused and spreading misinformation, even if it's not on purpose. So
My
I think it's
point with
important.
bringing it up, oh, sorry. Yeah,
You're
my
good.
point with bringing it up was Google has most of the power then because all of the information's coming from Google. So
True.
that point's still semi-valid regardless of whether it's all coming or most of it.
Right.
But or being manipulated. But that still means, I mean, I don't know what that exactly means, except for there being one company with a majority of power here.
Well, that's
for
important.
reasons I don't know how can be exploited properly.
So here's a thought where everything you hear about this AI, I mean, AI is not like a normal program. I've done programming, bullshit in, bullshit out, that sort of stuff. But AI can recognize patterns on its own and learn from them. A normal everyday computer program can't do that. So
Right.
here's a thing about the AI thing is, what about looking at it from a more positive angle in that getting new vaccines and cures and stuff like that? It'd be brilliant in that.
That's absolutely true. And Gadwin has made a lot of those points. So I think that I'll just speak for myself. I tend more toward the negatives. It's just how my brain's wired. And humans in general have a negativity bias.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Like if you're good, you're good. You don't have much to worry about. And it's positive. There's a lot of positive that can't. And I'm not trying to detract from that. But I think that the negatives are massive. Like they're a big deal. So I think that should be I think it's natural that should be the focus. Don't get me wrong. We can talk about the positive. I see no problem with that. And I believe that the potential is nearly limitless of things that we can do and all of the great things that we can accomplish. But if one of the really negative things are true, which, and the research I've seen lately is showing that it is, all it takes is it just basically going like, well, humans are, from its point of view, a wild card and a potential threat, etc. It's going to be like fucking, what's it called? I can't think of what it's called from Terminator.
Skynet.
Yes, it's going to be Skynet. And that is not crazy, in my opinion. That's very likely.
I think a problem with that way of thinking is that is the general populace's way of thinking of it.
That is true.
They know nothing about science.
That is true. But well, hold on. You can have that as long as it starts as like skepticism, like healthy skepticism, not just making a blanket claim. You can fill in the gaps before you jump to your conclusion, which I'm not going to call myself an expert. I'm not, but I have looked into it enough to know that experts agree with what I'm claiming. That like the things that I'm concerned about are not some tinfoil hat shit from like Alex Jones. They're already happening. So it's measurable is what I'm trying to say. It's not some shit that I'm like, I watched Terminator one day and the next day I'm like, oh, we've got Skynet. Like, it's not like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's measurable.
Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Jesus loves atheists.
Oh, don't. No. Well done, Los Angeles.
Gotta love it. Banning Candace Owens from your country? What the hell? What happened? Australia is somehow involved in banning Candace Owens from our country?
No idea who that is.
Yes, yes.
I know
they
who
did.
Candace Owens is, but I don't
They
know about what.
refused a visa, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, she's very hard right-wing conspiracy theorist.
I agree, but
And
I
dinosaurs are fake and gay.
okay, so I will say I absolutely despise Candace Owens, and I think she's dangerous and she pushes some crazy shit. But I will probably disagree on this. I am almost an absolutist when it comes to free speech because it's almost arbitrary the line that you draw, and it could easily be flipped back upon you in the instant. Like right now, we have some semblance of rationality, and that may not always be the case. All it takes is like this like the right currently in my country is in charge, and they can use this same sort of logic to go, oh, it doesn't have to be true. All they have to do is present a narrative that at least some people will follow and use it as a justification to shut down speech. I don't like it. I think that if you're going to combat people like Candace Owens, you use logic. You have other people speaking and going, no, you're retarded, and this is why. I don't agree with shutting down speech because, again, sooner or later, it's going to be targeted on you. We don't want to set a precedent of that, in my opinion.
Where do you draw the line on it?
That's the hard. That's
This is
the
the problem.
that's the difficult thing.
If you start by saying, "Oh, we will refuse you this because we don't agree with your ideas,"
Well,
where does it end?
So, in my opinion, you don't police speech, period, at all, unless what we already do, at least in the United States, which is you can't call for violence. You can't make a direct threat of violence, and you can't like yell fire in a crowded theater for obvious reasons. But that's already the case. Personally, I think that's already how it should be. I believe that you're heading toward tyranny the moment you go, these words are dangerous.
I think shutting down somebody like Candace Owen, refusing a visa because they don't agree with her ideologies on this and that and the other, is a little bit like shutting down comedians because you don't agree with their humor.
Right.
So it's exactly the same to me. It's an emotional response.
Exactly. And so the problem with attacking speech is it's usually based on an emotion or an emotional response. Like, this makes me feel a certain way. You can't police that. Like, one important point here is I can say something that has perfectly good intent, and you can take it in an entirely different manner, and it hurts your feelings when that's not what I intended. And then what? I should be held accountable for something that I didn't even intend for you to think. Do you understand how it seems like maybe you agree? This rabbit hole is something we cannot go down. It's dangerous. That's my view anyway.
It is. Like, isn't it? You're not allowed to, I mean, where are you going to end up? Thought crime?
Exactly. That's where we're headed into, because you can't measure this shit. You can't measure how someone feels. That like right now I can say trans, or it'll offend some people, but put the IE on the end, and like I can say that with like lack of education or something, and think that that's what it means. You know what I mean with the IE on the end, and that is considered offensive to people, but I might not intend it to be offensive in any way, and it could be just pure ignorance on my part. Like, you can't measure how shit makes people feel.
And on the other side of the coin is you've got every right to be offended. Carry on.
Well, you have every right to be offended. I don't believe that you should have a right to stop someone's speech based on you being offended.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly that.
And
Mate,
I think
soon you
it's,
won't be allowed to say atheist, or what? Or he signed some bill implying atheists are the enemy.
well, he can't. The courts would shut it down if he said you can't say atheist, but he did. It's sort of like a symbolic thing. It's not that important unless they start using it in a way that's more measurable. But essentially what he's doing is he tied not atheism specifically, but anti-Christianity, which does link. Anti-Christianity is a now considered the beginning of terrorism, or it's a terrorist signal or something shit like that.
Wow.
It's fucked up,
Wow.
but some people are kind of exaggerating it and making it like essentially what you said. Like if like you can't say atheist or you can't say anything against Christianity. That's not the case, but it's still something to keep an eye on. I agree that it's problematic.
As to stupid humans' point, yes, we should, in my opinion.
We should what? We've got long comments. That means I have to pause so my brain can catch up.
Stupid human.
They don't
not
believe in
offended one,
evil
yeah.
so much.
Can you expand on that?
Yeah.
What do you mean? You don't believe in evil? You think that evil is a subjective experience entirely based? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I can agree to an extent, but I do believe this goes back to, well, evil is directly linked to morality. So we're going to inevitably go back to our earlier conversation. And that is, in my view, there is objective morality in some very minute instances. But I do believe that a vast majority of it is entirely subjective.
Yeah, you know my view.
I do.
You need to have a reason for an objective morality.
What do you mean
Which
you
means
need
it
to have a
comes
reason?
from the universe. Well, subjective and objective. Subjective means from the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Objective means it was fundamentally there in the universe.
So we went into that, and then I brought up my position that we shouldn't use that hardcore usage of subjective. My opinion, the reason why I say that is because it's not what we intend when we use the word in this context. So when I use the word in this context, I mean that it shifts from person to person. So it can be objective. It doesn't have to be from the universe. If all human beings outside of like disorders are wired to think a certain thing, it can be called objective, and that can be true. It doesn't necessarily have to come from the universe. And you can also have that wiggle room of, now it'd be hard to prove, I'll admit that, but you have the wiggle room of someone disagrees. That doesn't automatically make it subjective, because you could make the case, although admittedly it would be hard, that they have a disorder of some kind, or for whatever reason, their wiring has changed from their default position. I don't know if I'm exactly saying that. All I'm trying to do is get people to think outside of that hardcore, rigid, like black and white thinking, because I think it's far more nuanced than that, in my personal opinion. Hello, Gadla.
That's fair enough.
Well,
and I think that's why I can't continue with the morality thing, because I have a different definition.
Right.
I mean, I can, but I can't do it in depth.
I
like
understand.
morality.
I
I
understand
think as far as objective morality is concerned, to do with the universe and all that kind of, I'm much simpler than that. I just think we, apart from the living things on the planet, I think some animals have it that aren't us. But I think I just deal with us, because I can't control any other morality. I can't control
I don't think that's morality.
of a lion.
Yes, so then we're going to get into some more semantics, and you're bringing up a valid point, Odd. So a lot of this goes back to how you're defining it, but I personally believe anything moral just the term can be anything involving what you think is right or wrong. And I believe that there is an objective morality, and we can easily demonstrate it because of what's it called? Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism can be measured. The moment you can measure something, it's no longer subjective. So it is subjective in the early stages because you have to agree upon the things that you're measuring. So if you disagree, then it's
people think something compared to less of these people. That's a way of measuring something subjective.
That's true as well. That's a valid point.
So it can be measured. Sorry
Yes.
for butting in, but
well, no. So then we're talking about different things. So the measurement itself is not the morality in this case, but it could be. It depends on what you're measuring. So if we're measuring that some people think a certain thing and other people doesn't think a certain thing, then you can show that that's obviously subjective, right? And I'm sure you would agree with that. But it depends on what you're measuring. That's the tricky part.
Well, are we measuring, if simply from somebody who doesn't do all this philosophy and words with 3 syllables or more, if I'm on about morality, to me,
this is philosophy. Sorry about that.
It's to the benefit of the group.
Yeah,
it's a moral thing. That's got nothing to do with the universe.
Or like
I think that you guys defining the universe thing, you take that wrong. All I mean is that the morality must already be there. So the good or the bad thing would be good or bad without anyone having to define it as good or bad.
Okay. In that way, with you expanding, I agree with you completely. All that it means is that it does not shift depending on the personal viewpoint of an individual. And you're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
And that goes all the way to the universal fundamental level. And sorry for going to such a...
sorry, God, I misunderstood as well.
It's okay. Well, I think it was important because without saying what you just said, I wouldn't have understood, because I would have think that you were talking about a universal thing that's almost like a law of nature, and that's not what you meant.
No, but it still means with mind or without mind, to put it even simpler.
Right.
And a lot of people need more explanation on that, but we've done this topic a few times now, so
true.
That's all I mean by that, So, and you'll find even freaking people with their divine intervention, that's God's mind. So that's still, in the end, their objective morality comes from a subjective source. So they're still talking subjective morality, and you've got to explain to them how their objective morality, inverted commas, is actually subjective.
You know what? I haven't thought about that. I haven't
come from my mind.
I honestly have not thought about that argument from the perspective you just mentioned. That's true.
Well, that God has a mind.
So if the God, you're right. You're absolutely right. So, okay. So what I would think that they mean when they say objective in this case is the laws that were given from that subjective mind have, insofar as they know, remain static, meaning he hasn't changed his mind, which does make them objective from their viewpoint.
So we should still stone virgins to death on their wedding night if they're not virgins.
So hold on. So from my perspective, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it at all. But from their what I'm trying to do is see it from their vantage point. So I agree that it's problematic in so many ways, because there are so many things, in my opinion, from the Bible that are just wrong. They're just, exactly. That's a good word for it. They're horrific. So if you're going to say that everything that this book claims is objectively moral, then in my opinion, you're destroying what morality means, because you're out of the picture completely. Like, do you know what the potential for the tyrannical shit is? Because you don't matter. Like, your view of what is right and wrong is completely out of the picture. Your ability to gauge right and wrong is gone. It's not part of this metric that we're using. And in that way, you're not using morality. In my personal opinion, you should use a different word for it, because it's not morality. It's like it's a commandment. Morality can't be, in my opinion, a direct forced commandment. Like, it defeats the entire purpose of what morality is.
I think morality is the goal to get. I'm still at the group level. I'm way down below you guys. I'm just moving with the group.
No,
If it
you're
benefits the
just
group,
you're
if it
just
benefits with the group,
mhm.
then it's a subjective thing because different groups are going to move in different ways
That is
depending on
true.
culture, etc.
So
But the
so this
end
is
goal is
exactly
objective.
exactly that's
Huh?
what I was going to point out. So
Mhm.
the individual
Or-
specific groups can change depending on their culture and all sorts of different factors, their environment and all that. But what would be objective, at least in my view, and it seems like Mao holds the same view, the end point, like the morality is the thread that ties it together. It's the foundation that is driven toward. That is objective across all cultures, in my opinion. Certain things, anyway. Not claiming everything is objective, but I think there are certain things that hold true regardless. And then, even if you have an individual that breaks from that, that doesn't prove that it's subjective because that individual is. I don't have a better way of saying it. They are damaged in some way. They deviated.
Anomalies.
Yeah, they're anomalies. That's a good way of putting it. It's a better method than what I just used. Yeah, so it still doesn't disprove an objective morality. And I'm not saying that I can prove an objective morality either. I'm just saying that particular argument can't necessarily be used against it because you can explain that.
Yeah, I think the objective morality is the end result. So, given that it's a process,
Social
you can't
contract.
really prove it, can you?
Yes, and so that social contract that you're describing to me would be objective morality. Like that you don't have to explain these things. I believe that they're intuitive, they're natural. They happen without any effort. They don't
Well, they
have
change
to.
with humanity though, because
That's
back
true.
in the
That's
past,
true.
I mean,
But
it was all right tried to steal from people.
that's absolutely true. But that goes back to what Mao said. You're changing specific minute details, but the overarching quote morality to me is still the same. At least certain things. I'm not claiming, again, I'm not saying there is objective morality across the board because I don't believe that. I do
Depends on the
believe there are,
survivability.
yes. Well,
More
and survival
humans come
itself.
together.
Yeah, yes,
Better
just
survival.
those things themselves that you can point to that are actually measurable, like genetics that are designed. There are certain things that we do due to evolution because it has shown to give us a greater chance of survival. Those things are measurable. And like, I don't think that you can make a really good argument that that is not morality. Like morality doesn't just have to be this magical concept of like purely subjective shit. I don't think that that's accurate personally. I think
No,
anything that you can point to is a form of what is right and what is wrong is under the
Everything you just
umbrella.
described came from a mind, though.
But so again, we're going back to that rigid definition of subjective, which I don't think that's not what we're talking about when we're talking here.
Fair enough.
Now I do agree with the second one that where you kind of elaborated more, and it's about it coming from a mind. So it is true that it comes from a mind, but it can come from a mind and still be objective. So it depends on what you're measuring. And that's what we're going back to.
And be objective, because if you did the same thing with a person on the other side of the planet, they might choose a different option at the end.
So what matters is not that they change. You're right.
An objective result.
You're right, but the result is not the thing we're calling objective.
No, but an objective result would give the same result.
I don't understand.
That was partly what I meant.
So
like a subjective result could change.
So
and an objective result shouldn't change.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I disagree. I think you would still see change because of environment, culture, all of those things.
Sorry.
So what you would say, what I think you're trying to say is when those things change, it proves that it's subjective. I disagree because it's showing we're not calling the specific action objective. We're calling the overarching morality behind it objective, which means
But you're not
those
getting the
things,
same result.
but that doesn't matter.
So
Like in
by
my opinion,
definition, to me, that's the thing that makes it subjective.
no, well,
That's
it
why
depends
I
on,
can't
so,
get past this. But
okay,
it's
I
all
get
good.
it.
I can stop, man. It's all good.
No, you're fine. I have no problem. In fact, I think that this is sort of an important thing to get past. I think this is a big deal. So I'm trying my best, and I'm sucking, to be honest, of explaining what I'm thinking. So I think the problem in where we're hung up is you're calling the result the thing that is subjective or objective. I'm calling the intent or the thing that leads toward the result objective or subjective. You have to delineate between those two things because they're not the same.
The first part needs to come from the mind, and the second part, with an objective result, would have to be uniform, and with a subjective result, could change. That's the only parameters.
But the end result would be the morality.
The end result
The
is a
progress
morality, is it objective or
is different,
subjective, and that's did it change or can it change or can't it change?
subjective changes as
Cha-ching.
how to say, yeah, it changes. Morality itself is the end goal, and
Yeah.
it doesn't change. That's the end goal. That's
Well,
the target.
Okay, true.
And-
Okay, so the problem here is ambiguity in language, in my opinion. When
And
we
also-
use
Yeah,
when we
morality,
use
you're saying subjective and objective. So you're
exactly.
saying two types of the same thing, and then you're saying that morality is different from subjective and objective.
Well, no. This
No.
specific morality. So, okay. When we the problem, I think, is when we use morality, we can use it as like an adjective. Well, no, we can use it to describe different things. And when I'm trying to use it, I'm talking about an overarching principle of how a person feels. And you can't just measure the end result of an action in order to gauge that. It's impossible. You can use it in a way like, how do I put it?
I know what you mean. Show
I'm
your working.
having a bad way of describing this. This is difficult.
Yeah. Like when teachers would get you to show your working for your maths problem solving shit.
If
Can't
I have
just give the answer.
If I show my work on this, we're getting nowhere because I cannot describe what I'm trying. Like, I know what I'm thinking, but I can't get it in words. It's hard to pin down.
No, it's great. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
Fuck, I
It's
spent
self-empathy.
years studying this shit.
Being able to reflect on the
Didn't
other
spend
person.
much
I
time
just
talking.
I just keep it very simple in that there are lots and lots of roads to progress, but the morality that you want to get to that is the end result.
Right. So, okay, again, we're using it in different ways here. So you're calling the morality the result, which is it's
Yes.
completely fine, but you can use it in a different way as well. So we were using it in two different use cases, I guess. That I think that's the issue. And I don't have another word to describe what I mean, and that's the problem. Like, I don't know of another, like, is there a better way to describe what I mean? Like, I don't know how to get past that.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know either, brother.
no, it's just subjective morality is just us traveling along the morality route, trying to get better and better. And morality at the end is the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think we made a step forward here, but I think we're still steps
Two parts of the
apart.
same.
We're still, there's a point, we've made progress for sure, but there's a point in which there's like a bottleneck in the whole process, and it's hard to get past that point. And
We're not burning women anymore as witches. I mean,
that is true. Definite progress. I'm lost too, so you're not alone.
comes down to the collective.
Hi, Godwin, by the way.
Hello.
All right, bud.
Gadwin, why were you late? Were you fapping?
I was sleeping.
All
Took a
good.
nap. I woke up at like 2 a.m, and then I went until like 4 or something like that. I gotta take a nap.
Like,
I can't
10 to 2
believe
in the
how
morning.
long it takes to frickin' zero shit in. Like, I had 3 different things I needed to zero in: the scope, the laser, and then the red dot itself. And Jesus
Not a shot.
Christ, it takes way longer than I thought it would.
Lot
It
of
took like
bullets.
6 hours. Well, we tried to do as much as we could without wasting too much ammunition, but it still took about 24 to 25.
Like
round.
anytime I did the scope, it was like you get a target, you try to aim dead center, and then you just see how many clicks you are to the right, left, up, down,
Yes.
and then you just zero it into that.
The scope was the
And
easier
hope
of
the
the
wind
3.
doesn't pick up.
Yeah. But luckily, we didn't have much wind. The scope was the easy one, and I didn't think about this till later. Actually, my uncle thought of it because I'm special. You can use the scope for the other 2. Once the scope is zeroed in, you can use that as like a baseline for the other 2 when you're on a target. And I didn't think about that, so we were doing it the hard way for forever.
I never liked a scope on an AR. Like the one guy at work, he used to bring it in. We'd go shoot out back, and like we took he had a 22 version and a 5.56 version. So we put the scope on the 22 version, used that for like shooting squirrels and shit like that.
Mhm.
And then the other one, you just had the small tactical red dot, which you can pull up real quick.
Right. So, well, that's why I like to have the 45. It's for like, I have it set for 100 yards, which is
That's about all you're gonna
typical.
use it
That's
for.
typical what people usually do. But the red dot is for closer range. It's roughly set for 36 to 50 yards.
Side mounted.
Yes, it's at a 45-degree angle because otherwise I can't have both optics at the same time unless I were to use the piggyback method. I don't like that because, well, originally I thought you're going to lose cheek weld, but you have to anyway, and my uncle pointed that out. Like the way I have it set up, you can't keep cheek weld and turn the entire rifle 45 degrees. So I guess it doesn't really matter, but I do like not having to change them out on the
Maybe
rail.
get a handle for the out the end for your left hand.
That would be helpful because I have found that with the 45-degree deal, it is very difficult to keep that thing steady to make a proper shot. I need some sort of like a rail, like you said, or a handrail or foregrip.
Well, a lot of the military, they all have handles on them, basically. So you're just sitting there with the handle in each hand, and it just stabilizes the whole setup.
That makes sense. I do need to invest in something like that. That would fix my problem, hopefully.
But you probably can get a different, there at the barrel, I can't remember what that's called, the grip. You can get one with a bunch of rails down it and stuff like that. More tactical one.
Right. Well, my next little mini project is, yes, I have 20/20 vision. But with your other point, I am not good at shooting. I'm a complete beginner. I've had a couple of handguns, but I have very little time with it, mainly because a lot of what I do is dry firing, which is good for muscle memory. And like a lot of what you do is not shooting itself. But when it comes to the shooting itself, I have very little experience.
Oh,
so
I went through boxes of shells. Like every day I got home from school, I'd pull out the 22 and go out in the yard and just shoot
dude, ammunition is so expensive though.
Well, this is back in the 90s, so
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Mine
I
is
just keep
work
shooting.
with body armor on again yet? Or
No.
just the once off.
I decided not to anymore because my aunt, she has, without going into too much details, she is very uncomfortable with it. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna only wear it around my house. If I'm gonna do exercise, which was the entire purpose, I'll use it around the house. And I already checked with my landlord. He said, as long as you're not showing a weapon, you can even have magazines hanging and shit. But I won't do that. I'm going to take all the magazines and stuff off and just wear the vest itself.
That's like the military. They just put their 60-pound ruckpacks on and do their like 8-mile runs and shit like that. And they just got used to gear. No, Romans, they did that all the time, 90 pounds of gear. They carried.
As you do before breakfast, huh? The only time I wore armor like that was on a Saturday night down the dance hall. Those women are nasty.
I mean, it's sad we're at this state where you have to almost wear, like you have bulletproof bags, blankets, all kinds of stuff for kids nowadays because it's so prevalent. disgusting. We're the only country it's like that either.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. That's what I don't like about this hardcore. Like some people call them, for one, I would say a lot of the people that call themselves patriots aren't, because they're in love with the version of America that doesn't exist. Like they want it to be Russia or some shit. But also this hardcore patriot shit causes people to not have a critical thinking skills. They go, we're perfect in every way. And that's just not fucking true. You need to be able to like have a critical lens to view your country, because we're not perfect. We're not even close to it.
Yeah, I criticize the hell out of America, but that's because I want it to change for the better. Not
Exactly. Like you can go too far in either direction. You can be like biased toward this is a piece of shit, failed state, and like think too negative of it, I guess. But I see too much of the opposite in my experience, at least where I'm located. I'm biased by where I live.
it's a lot of the '90s action movies and
oh.
shit like that. That's really warped the
Sorry.
minds of people.
Yes, that's true.
A little bit disappointed that Tangelo only made a one comment entrance today.
It was funny.
I would have.
It's perfect.
I would have not said a word if he came up.
It's all good. I'm not going to be in the business of begging. Like we have certain parameters that I believe are good for this sort of environment. I use those parameters, and I'm not going to make special rules for particular guests. I don't like that, and I think it sets a bad precedent. Personally, I'm not going to cater to every individual person's within reason. And I think, like, to me, the level of like disruption of that particular stream was so minor that was a nothing burger, a massive nothing burger. Like I'm not going to push to that extent. I don't agree with that.
Fiji's 30 words. Yeah.
Look, we're all humans.
Yeah.
We're gonna interrupt each other occasionally. It's gonna happen. I'm not gonna be that hardcore.
No, I wouldn't do that.
In my experience,
Well, over
Christians are always
6 years,
looking for a
it's
reason
been
to
doing
be.
the same argument. So, yeah, all I wanted to do.
Ah,
was just
dude, you interrupted Gadwin. Fuck.
fucking.
see, like I don't want that environment. I don't want that environment. Like that's what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
You can't get anywhere now.
Exactly. Like it's too rigid, and it makes everybody uncomfortable, and people don't want to come up here if they're uncomfortable. Like,
Sorry,
And
Gadwin,
most-
I didn't mean to,
You,
mate.
you will find most people.
dude, I was kidding. I was using that as an example.
I know.
People aren't aggressive enough or forward enough or maybe even confident enough to fight against that.
Right.
So
Well,
you might have somebody with a great comment or something to say, they just shut up.
that's true. And so that's another problem is it can be used in reverse. Some people on here are far more tentative. They're not as assertive, and that's fine. That's just a personality trait. And it can be used against them because all it takes is someone being more assertive, and they can like weaponize that and make it to where they can't make any points. So that it can easily be abused. So I don't
one
want
of
that.
those because we're from the UK and we tend to. I know I haven't been doing it today because I haven't got long, so I got to say what I say now.
Right.
But generally speaking, we wait. When you're finished, it's my turn. We tend to do that, you know.
Right. So that works well. Well, there's pros and cons to everything. And but regardless of why, that is your default. And there are several people that come on that have your sort of thinking, your default.
Patience.
Yes. And I don't think that we should make it a habit of like the people that are overly freaking out. We don't want things to be that rigid, I guess is all I'm trying to say, because it harms people that think more like you. And yeah,
Christianity is a victimhood mentality, though. That's the whole Bible's about them being the victims. It's Jewish religion as well. It's all about them being the victims of everybody.
well, I see that being weaponized a lot too, and being turned into like where you can ironically make like a defensive offensive maneuver. It happens all the time with Israel, for example. Like they'll do something offensively, just like Putin did with Ukraine, by the way. Like you set things up, you're completely offensive, and you try to use mental gymnastics to point that you had to do that, and it was defensive in nature. We do it all the time as Americans, by the way, not us, but the military. Like almost every fucking conflict that happened in like South America, for example, Vietnam, they were all offensive on our part, but we always tried to find ways to act to get like public sentiment behind it. Like, again, mental gymnastic bullshit.
I whinge
like-
about religion a lot, and I still don't understand one thing about how Christian Americans are helping Jewish Israeli people in a war when the Jews executed their Messiah. I just don't understand how they get
I
over
think
that
given-
bit in their head.
I don't know. It's so I tried my best to be able to put myself in that position, but that I can't go that far. I can't get in that headspace. I don't know.
I saw
Benjamin
one the other day.
Netanyahu said that he now calls the Christian right in America the Christian Reich. He said that this is the useful pawns. That's it.
Wow. And he's just open about it.
Oh yeah, he did it at a conference here like last week. He's just
So
like,
why
Wow.
the fuck do Christians take that shit? Or do they not know this?
Exactly.
Do
Well,
they
At
not?
the
Do they not?
core level, it's it's so contradictory. I don't get that.
Well,
Mind
a lot of this
explosion here.
A lot of this isn't being reported. That's part of the problem. Mainstream media doesn't report this shit. So like recently, it was like a couple of months ago, I reported that the very last Christian frontier or city in Gaza was attacked by Israel. And it wasn't, I had a lot of comments that this was the only place on YouTube that they could see it. They dug for it and they couldn't find the story. And so the Christians think that like Jewish people, they're our brethren, they're our allies, but it doesn't take long to find out that that's not true. That's just not fucking true.
Their own places. There are a program I came across the other day called Daystar or something, just clicking buttons. I came across, and these people are donating thousands to Israel. These are American people, not And thank you for the $10,000, and we'll be. I don't get it.
It's got to be propaganda. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Gad.
Israel, I seen a thing, is paying $7,000 per influencer. It makes a good video about Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And this
I can do that.
goes back to the 90s. I remember ads coming on TV, like how it was to like help kids in Africa. Hey, this so much will feed this kid for a day in Africa. They had ones for Jews, sending the Jews back to Israel, and they'd be like, if you donate this much, you can get a Jew back to Israel and blah blah blah.
What the fuck, man? So like, that's weaponizing people's empathy, and we see it a lot. Like you see it in some of I'm not saying all of them, but in many of these like old school cable TV infomercial type deals. They would present like a person from Africa, for example, that had come to find out after doing research, they had a specific disease that made them like insanely emaciated. And they would try to use that one individual to go, well, they wouldn't say it directly, but obviously it paints the narrative that this is everyone in Africa or this particular region.
Sally Struthers is a big one.
Yes. And the problem with that is it harms people who actually have critical thinking skills and also empathy, and they want to help. They want to make their dollar, however much they have, like me. I don't have a lot of expendable income, but when I do want to use it to help for the bigger picture, to make the world a better place, I want to know that dollar stretches as far as it possibly can. And it's hard now because there's so much fucking scam shit out there.
That's why I don't donate to any of that shit, because I know it's either the church or some organization. It's literally keeping 90% of it and you're only using 10%.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. But that happens, and it happened to me too. It makes you just go shut down mode. Like, I'm just not going to donate. But the thing is, if you dig into it, and yes, it takes research and shit, but there are ways to be certain Like there are specific trackers, for example, like the entire organizations, their entire job is to determine whether or not organizations are legit. They'll give you specifics right down to the dime of how much of, like, per dollar, exactly how much of it goes to the cause.
Yeah, there's a
It's-
group on wells, like they go around and dig wells for African villages and shit like that, which they actually provided you everything. Akon's another one, the singer. He does a lot of humanitarian work. Bill Gates as well. Bill Gates, a huge humanitarian.
I used to talk shit about Bill Gates, but he has recently went to the point where he does not want to be known as being rich when he dies. He is giving away he's escalated massively.
Warren Buffett's the same. Well, him and Warren Buffett are best friends. Warren Buffett's giving all his money away to charity when he dies. His kids ain't getting shit. He already said that, like, publicly. He's like,
And
my kids ain't
that
getting
is
shit.
awesome.
Yeah, Bill Gates, he goes,
is
well, it's actually the Linda Gates Foundation. She goes around, they pretty much annihilated malaria in Africa by vaccinating people and stuff.
And that is fucking
RFK will
important.
fuck that.
Yes, you fucking. It's already showing that in South Carolina, very close to where I am, there's a massive fucking uptick in outbreaks of measles.
Yep, I seen that. We have like
What the
400
fuck?
cases
That was
of
the one I
measles in
said on
America.
Space Streams
Scary
channel.
talk. Scary.
That's why I was talking about it, because it was like it's an outbreak. It's something we eradicated. Like,
Yep.
it wasn't even
Polio,
heard
was
of.
it?
But polio
Well,
is
that'll
a
be
dead
next
virus.
That's what
There's
to
nobody
be
with polio.
to be fair. Sorry to interrupt, but this is chat. Bill Gates is not literally leaving nothing to his children. I think it's around what you're talking about. It's like it's not even 1% of his whole fortune is the point, though. But he isn't just leaving them nothing. Period.
No, fuck, exactly.
If you-
If you're in his
like-
position, you'd do the same.
Right.
Which that Charlie Critical Moist.
Yeah.
Like, he's done the whole thing now. He's made $40 million from YouTube. That's like generational wealth now he has. That will actually, if done right, you can pass that on for generations.
Well, what I believe, and we might disagree with, this is a good thing that we can talk about. I don't think that level of generational wealth should exist. You happen to be born and you just happen to roll the fucking lucky dice that you have a rich father or mother. And like, I don't think that is moral at all. Like,
There should
don't
be
get me,
billionaires.
I think that there should be a certain, well, I agree with that too. That would solve all this. But if we can't do that, we should at least make it to where they can't give 100% of like billions of dollars to their children. I think that's wrong.
You should be able to give your kids enough so that they don't have to go into the workforce as a labor level person.
I
And they
don't
can go
even.
into life with a ability to use creativity in their mind to make money. And
I don't even
because that's
agree. I don't even
harder,
agree with that. Like, it's a
No,
valid. It's a
I'd
valid
allow more for
point.
my kids.
I
It's,
disagree.
I was
there-
watching a thing. Basically,
I'd prefer my kids didn't have to start from the shittiest level.
well,
And
I
start
get
from
that.
the medium level and build up.
We can agree with
We can
that,
easily do that
but
right
the
now.
statement that my kids should not have to work, I think that is immoral.
Oh,
So-
I'm not saying don't work. I'm saying don't work at the lowest levels.
I agree
You
with that.
can
I agree with
learn
that.
fast by
it's
So-
shareholders.
What
So-
if you bank
Problem with
them enough so that they can work at a slightly higher level,
Okay, yeah.
but not at a really high level? Unfortunately, they're a bit thick.
Greedy people
I
Nowadays.
tend to agree, but I don't want them to. The people that always get up to these highest levels are totally thick, but they never come from the bottom
Well,
shit level
so,
unless they
hold
build
on,
the
hold on.
company up themselves.
What do we mean by thick?
They're just not capable of doing that next level. If you-
Oh. You mean
Yeah,
like you mean
I agree
intellectually?
I agree here.
Yeah,
People that
it's
start
just
from
a
the
bit
very bottom learn
not
all of the
capable.
skills.
No, it's like giving somebody a job to work a capstan lathe or a center lathe or something. Unfortunately, they can't tie their shoelaces.
Middle
Mhm.
management was
It's
made
not-
up
it's
so
the same
like
sort
rich
of
people
thing.
could give their friends.
You're bankrolling them for a position that they're not capable of.
Right.
So
I'm dealing with my boss's son now, like I've been with a company for 25 years and I've got the boss's son, and it's distinctly different. This
Mhm.
guy doesn't have the business ties and the, like the charisma and charm, and I've got more knowledge because I've been there longer. So
Mhm.
it's a whole different conversation with this
Well, I grew up in a
boss
family
compared
business,
to the
and
other boss.
seeing as it handed down through my family and who got propped up and who didn't.
Mhm.
Mm. So
So
you never have won. It was by birthright, I assume.
Yeah, I was. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I was looked over. I didn't have the discipline. I wanted to be a kid when I was young, and
Fair
my
enough.
cousin that was raised up by my uncle, he was always very disciplined because of his family and everything. Me, I was pretty much a free spirit. I was left to go do whatever the hell I wanted. So, I mean, that impacted on that. So I got end up being looked over. So it skipped me.
I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. It would have been considered child abuse these days if I let
suppose
my kids
another
wander the
thing about
neighbourhoods like I
backrolling.
did.
Another thing about backrolling your kids, are you giving them anything to focus on? Are they going to be, I'm not saying that they would naturally become lazy, but it'd be an easy thing to do, wouldn't it? They could sit on the money. How long would it last then? Plus,
Oh, it wouldn't last at all. If you're not,
yeah, I mean, would they do anything?
That is a different topic. That is now, are you a good parent or are you not a good parent?
Well,
that is true, but it's still a valid topic. We're just
Look at
kind of
people
shifting.
who won the lottery.
I see
If
how
you take a poor
it's
person and give them
attached, but
millions of dollars, they end up back in poverty shortly after. Every time.
You'll find it depends on it depends on how they got the money. If you're, I find the business owners I have dealt with a lot, some of them have raised their kids well with money and some haven't. And the ones that have been raised well with money did bother to go through the ranks and the hierarchy in their dad's businesses and learn the skills and shit. But because they've got the financial backing and the nepotism factor because their fathers are the owners, they've jumped the skill levels or, like they get to the higher positions. It can be done. They need to be educated. Don't get me wrong. You still need to be a good parent. But I'd try to, they're my fucking kid. So I want it to help progress the ranks quicker.
So I agree with
if
you.
it's my own company, I can get them at least off of shit level 1, start them at shit level 2.
So what matters to me is that you're merit based, because I can only speak for what I'm used to, but that is in this country, what I see constantly is pure nepotism. Nepotism is wrong in my opinion. And when I say that, I don't mean that you can't, I don't mean that you can't have your family member work for you. What I mean is, if that is the only qualification, it's wrong. You should,
but your version's conformity.
Huh?
Your version leads to conformity.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Well, everyone is exactly ranked by like a set guideline. Do not breach this guideline. You cannot upskill until you've passed all of these.
So
it induces a conformity to the standard.
That is true, but if the standard is something that's like universally positive, what's the problem? Like the standard
won't get
here,
a creative difference or a variety over time.
Well,
and I get that nepotism is a problem, but you won't get your oh wow, this guy's actually amazing, and we didn't see that coming because we've never come across this skill before because we've always made them follow our guidelines.
I see what you're saying.
I don't know how to explain it better.
I see what you're saying. You're talking about the specific metric for that specific job. The metrics that you use become rigid, and you're absolutely. If that's what you're saying, I completely agree with you. I hadn't thought about that. So we have to find a balance, I guess. Like pure nepotism, I think we can all agree is wrong on way too many levels. But again, what I started with is that doesn't mean you can't leave your son, your company or whatever. That means that you need to make sure that they are able to do the job well.
Them.
Yes, exactly. And so, but too often I see that that's not the case. The only standard is you're my son. That's all you need. And that's terrible.
Absolutely agree. Probably say 30% of the sons of business owners I've dealt with, which is only about 10, really. But say 3 of them have been the ones that I'd go and work for out of the 10. It's not like a higher percentage. It's a third or less.
Yeah, but I still think that that's too much. Like that third.
I mean, look at Trump. Fred Trump, he built his empire from the ground up. Like, he did all the work, he put in the hard time, and he built an empire. And then it all got handed over to Trump, which he's a complete nepotism baby. Never struggled for anything, never had to work, never really did anything he didn't want to do. And now look at his kids, they're even worse.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So, but the bigger picture for me is not the individual. It's the greater good. It's utilitarianism. It harms society. That's the big deal, in my view, anyway.
Well, Rome was a good example of that. Like Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest rulers of Rome, he built the empire up. He spent most of his time on the battlefield, learning, struggling, fighting with his men, just for his son Commodus to just be a complete shit. Gladiator. That was a movie about that, basically. His son was just a spoiled little shit, never had to struggle for anything, and just burned it all down because he's a nepotism baby.
Yep. Quickly, I want to address this because I think I want to make sure I'm being understood. It's fine if you disagree with me, but I want to make sure you're not straw manning me. So, to start from the roots here, I believe that outside of basics, like what you should expect all people to do for their children, if you go above and beyond, like buying like Mercedes Benz and shit, that is what I call, this is just my personal view, I call it secondary selfishness. The reason why I call it that is because it's your son. It's not someone else's. So what you're saying implicitly is that emotionally, obviously, you have an emotional attachment to your son or daughter, but you're saying that my son, my daughter is more important than, for example, this person that has absolutely nothing, and it's not their fault. It's just by fucking roll of the dice. A person literally has absolutely nothing. They can't even afford food, shelter, that kind of shit. And you're saying that my child specifically, not just, I'm not saying that your child's not more important. I'm saying the extent of that. You're saying that that your child shouldn't just have a car. Your child needs to have the best of the best. And you're essentially saying, fuck those homeless people. To me, that is the definition of immorality. Like, it's wrong.
I agree with you, but the
in the
noble
1940s.
people giving away their money over time will reduce because they're giving away their money and it's harder to rebuild from scratch. And the rich families that are passing their money on will not decrease and only increase. So over time, you're going to have what's happening to your country. The Republicans with the money and wealth in power and no means to overcome it properly because the opponents have less money and power by a mile because it's not in their doctrine to generate wealth as much.
That is true, but so we're talking about different things. So when
No,
I'm
that was
using
the analogy, sorry.
Right. Well, you're fine. You're fine. But like, just to make sure that we're on the same page here. So when I'm talking about the thing that is wrong, or what you were talking about, like the Mercedes-Benz example, the Mercedes-Benz is not being used to generate income. It's being disposed. All I'm saying is that it should be used for someone that is in more critical need, if possible. Otherwise, you're implicitly stating that your child is more important than someone that's dying when your child is perfectly fine and comfortable within
FDR
reason.
I absolutely agree with you.
FDR had a 90% tax rate on the rich. Anything after $3 million the rich made a year, all got taxed at 90%. And then that went to fund.
Well,
90.
that was that 90% was the best period in America in history.
Yeah, that was
everybody was doing great.
Not for them.
No.
They're still making $3 million a year.
Yeah, they're still extremely rich. Extremely rich.
I get it. But to be making, like to still be getting taxed 90%, that's still government theft now.
3 million.
50%. Come on.
Most of your rich
I'll give you half.
$500,000 a year. it's only like a 1% that makes millions of dollars. And that's your movie
Mhm.
stars and your like super big
And that's the
CEOs.
problem. That should not
And these
happen.
1% use loopholes in tax. They're basically living off their business names,
Yep.
and they're fucking claiming everything back that they spend.
Exactly.
Well, no, they pay
you know,
themselves
like,
in
it's not
stocks. They
them.
don't actually pay themselves.
Exactly.
So they pay
So
themselves
there's
in
nothing to
stocks,
tax themselves on.
and then they get loans based off those stocks because that stock gives them value. That's their
All their living expenses
Equity.
comes out of their business and corporations and stuff. So it's
well,
not
yeah,
out
they
of
pay
their
for the
personal.
meals, their cars,
Exactly.
everything through the business.
And I believe
how they
the only
don't
way
pay
to combat
tax
that
in a
is
year.
through laws. You have to make it illegal to do that shit. You need
But
regulation.
50% is ample. That's still a shitload for these people because they're paying nothing.
Well, one problem that I think, and this even goes into what Austin's saying about lazy. So for one, that is sort of how the wealthy want you to think, in my opinion. They push this narrative that people that don't have things are that way due to pure, it's all on them. It's not ever due to anything external to them, which is not true. Factually, it's incorrect. We do not have a meritocracy. We like to believe we do, but the hardest workers in our society are the people that make the least, the people that work at McDonald's. Have you ever, like, you go talk to a rich person and you're like, hey, dude, like, would you work at McDonald's? And they will be honest with, they'll say, fuck no, I would never.
Would be a chicken catcher. Somebody
Yeah,
that
exactly,
catches-
exactly.
I
We
think it
we
would
have
be
the
less
You guys-
McDonald's.
exactly. We have the
You
opposite of a
guys pushed for
meritocracy.
capitalism. You guys wanted capitalism. That is the very
pushed on
essence
us
of
by
what
the
it
rich.
is, isn't it?
Well, see, the problem,
Mm.
I'm not anti-capitalism. It's the version that we
See?
have is completely irregulated capitalism. That's the problem.
There
You
is
can't
only
just
one
let
version. You're just at the greater end or the further end of it. You've been doing it for long enough where you've got these people that are now oligarchs.
no.
No,
So
when we had democratic socialists, we actually had limits on that.
that okay, right.
limits
You're right that there's only one capitalism. What I'm talking about, maybe I should have been more specific, is you can have regulations to keep people in check, to keep greed from ratcheting up, which is what happens. So when I say I don't mean
90% still seems rich to me rather than 50. You know, they still put in the effort to make these business systems that have worked.
So a
Mhm.
CEO
So
should
they
make $20 million
do-
while his worker makes 30,000
No,
a year.
no. And I agree there should be a limit, but taxing at 90%, that's insane to
No.
me. Like
FDR
I'm going
was
on,
in
I've just had
office for 16
interest
years,
rates
and
on
then
my fucking
Eisenhower
house,
took over.
man.
it sounds
And
crazy.
it went up
Like
about 4%, and my house has doubled in payments for
Yes,
the same
but-
fucking thing.
Okay,
That's only
so-
4 or 5%. Imagine
Yes.
90% compounded.
but hold
We're
on, hold on.
talking compounded.
We're only talking about literal, like the highest of the highest. We're talking about billionaires. You're not going to convince me that they're going to get hurt because they only make 10% of literal billions of dollars. I'm not going to feel sorry for these people at all. Plus, what I already said, this belief that all billionaires got there due to merit is bullshit. We can prove that incorrect over and over and over again. So,
Never
like,
suggested that.
so but I don't understand what the problem is, because we have factual proof that our economy works overall for most people better with that 90% tax rate than any other system that we've
And we
tried.
had no
You
debt.
do it
We
currently,
compared
do
that
you?
now.
You go up to 90% currently.
No, we're nowhere near
No.
that.
Yeah, full on. Yeah,
Right
full
now,
on.
where are we at now? I can't remember.
I think
Well,
we're at
I'm cut us
50
down to
in
like
Australia as a
20%.
max.
Yeah, it's like
on
20
the
to
rich.
30 something percent on the rich. And that's the problem. That's why so many people are hurting right now.
And that's after
Because-
like $5 million.
Less for the rich.
I think I
Why
was
does it go
just
down for the rich?
lower
Because
than
your
50.
standard is 29% for your middle. Like you're 2% less than Canada. Yeah. And like 2% less than us, but claim
They
that our
furloughed it
taxes
onto the
are
middle class.
insane.
They took the tax from the rich and put it on the middle class, and then killed the middle class. That was Reaganomics.
Yeah, I know.
Before
That's
that, we had it
strange
up
to
to
me.
Eisenhower. Eisenhower was a Republican. It was like 93% under him.
But you're basically the same as all these other countries. We're all about a third as the middle class, right? And
Mhm.
now you're saying that your rich are 20%. Our rich are 50%.
That's better than us.
Well,
Our
it goes
rich
up
guys.
for the rich, and it goes up for me. I borderline breach into the 50%. Like, it's not that high an amount that you have to earn to make 50%. I'm not rich. I'm single income in a dual income society
Okay,
here.
so then the argument is where should it begin at? And that's a whole different conversation. But I it's a valid point that we can talk about.
Yeah, here in
I
America,
don't
it's
know.
I don't know
400,000.
economics that well, but I know that I made a killing because I bought a house just before COVID. And now, because of immigration, there's so much desire for houses. I basically, in 3 years, got a house for free. But I've got to sell one to stop having to pay mortgage rates and all that shit.
Right.
And I don't
Yeah,
want to sell
like,
it because I'm using it. So
Over in
it's
Italy,
only in value, not in actual money.
in
that
Italy,
I've got.
the woman I used to know from there,
I
like
wonder who that is.
she owned multiple properties, and the more property you have, the more you're taxed. So therefore, by being greedy, you get taxed more. So if you have just one home, you barely have any tax. But if you have more than one, all of a sudden the taxes go way up.
I like that because it's
Urge that.
positive reinforcement.
Yeah.
Because punishment doesn't work as well as positive reinforcement. And for greedy type people, sometimes you need that. Like, obviously, like, it's human nature. Once you become greedy, you become more greedy. You want everything. And we need to combat that somehow.
I say 2 houses, but I've got 2 attached duplexes. So what I've got now is the equivalent to what I grew up in as a kid. You know, like, because the house size is reduced, trying to fit more people into a tighter area. It's happening everywhere. Yeah, like now I've got what I consider a house size, but it sucks because I've got a division wall. So I've got to sell this. They're old. I've got to fucking sell them, buy a proper home.
Duplexes are nice for
Move the whole
landlord.
family there. Yeah, well, sort of. They're good for making rent. They're old. I could get a lot of rent if I did it properly, but I don't have enough equity to do that. I'd like to shift out and then rent them
Well, the
both.
building's equity itself, so you can actually borrow against the property itself.
Yeah. I can. I mean, well, that's
Basically,
sort
how
of
you
what I
wanna
did
do
in the
that-
first place.
It's getting
To
the
get the
first
second one.
rental is the problem. So if you can get the
Exactly.
first rental, you're set. Because then once you have the first one, you can pull equity off of that one and buy the next one, and then use the rent from that first one to pay the second one off.
Exactly.
And then you just keep going. My grandmother has like 10 houses where she used to, or something like that. Like, and
Unless
it
you
just
put a
goes
family
on.
member in there and they don't want to keep paying all the time, and you don't really want to kick them out because they're a family member. Mate, first world problems, eh?
Yeah.
So when we
Next
talk about these
problem.
things, like when it comes to like housing and stuff, I try to use a baseline. This is how I think personally. You don't have to agree with me. Like, I get people, and no offense to anyone, but I get people that are like, man, this vehicle is terrible, piece of shit. Like, dude, I got to make more money. And they're driving like a luxury vehicle. I'm sorry, you're not, like, empathy is limited. It's finite. I'm not going to feel sorry for you. There are people that have nothing. And I apply that to everything. So where is your baseline is the question. And my baseline tends to go toward the people that have the least. So it takes a lot for me to feel sympathy for people, because I don't believe that, like, because I know you, for example, or you're my family member, that you are more deserving automatically. That's some weird arbitrary thinking. I don't agree with that. I think that that's wrong.
I was watching this thing earlier today. This guy broke it down. So basically, if we got rid of shareholders, where companies had to pay shareholders, like places like Amazon have 1.5 million workers, and you take what they give out in shares every year, like what they pay out in dividends, and you divided that amongst the workers. The average worker for Amazon makes about $34,000 a year. If you got rid of shareholders, you could give them an extra $39,000 a year.
Wow.
That's
Basically
big.
more than doubling their income. And then that would stimulate the economy even more, because those people would end up buying more, and then therefore that money would go right back to the rich.
This is the thing that
Isn't
a lot
your
of people don't
minimum-
understand. That they've fallen with the bullshit, the Reaganomics bullshit, the fucking make rich people richer and they'll sprinkle it down. We know for a fact that does not happen. The opposite is true. That the lower rung and the middle class, the more money they have, the better the economy does overall, because they actually spend money because they have to, or they can at least.
Isn't your minimum income $7 or something like that? Your
$7.50.
minimum.
Yeah, it's terrible. Terrible.
Ours is 22 or 23 or something.
That sounds about
Granted,
right.
Well, granted,
Well-
you know, a dollar to your dollar type thing, but you know,
Right.
roughly
Yeah.
yours is 50-50 type thing.
You
so
guys-
doubling
yeah, you
yours
guys are
14,
$1.50 to our dollar.
15. So we're $7 up still, roughly.
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
fucking,
I think I don't remember exactly, but I think it's at $24. If we were to adjust for inflation, that's where we would need to be to be at the same purchasing level power of our grandparents.
Yeah.
That's how bad we're doing right now. It's
$2.50
fucking
back
terrible.
in the day is equivalent to like $20 an hour now.
yeah, wow.
So I tried to cover this, but it's a valid point, Austin. I would not kick out my little girl for someone else. So what I'm talking about is it's a spectrum. So yes, you care about your children more than you care about other people. My problem is when people care so much more about their children than other people that they think that like my child deserves like a luxurious life and everything they could possibly ever want when there's literally people dying. That to me is just so I think
a lot of times it's not even them thinking about the children, it's them thinking about themselves. I want more and more and more for me.
Yeah,
me. And
yes.
they happen to be my kids and they get benefits of that.
Well, again, it's secondary selfishness because it's not some random child. It's your child. You could apply it to anyone. You could say your aunt, your dad, your whatever. It's because it's your family. It's selfishness. So don't get me wrong, because yes, you hold a certain level of responsibility due to how our culture works. You are more responsible for family members than you are for a random stranger. But I've accounted for that already. I'm not saying just don't do shit. I'm saying that what I see in general is too far, in my opinion. Like,
So if you're like a manufacturer of something important, say a defibrillator, and after all the overheads, delivery, shipping goes out, and it does well, you make 10 cents profit, which goes to you personally.
No, it goes to the company. So profits go to the company.
No, I know. But in the end, the effect is he makes 10 cents out of every one of these that goes for, say, $1,500. 10 cents in the end funneled down. I get that it goes through a company and all that, but 10 cents is CLAs, right? Personally, that he gets to sort of say he can do whatever the fuck he likes with, doesn't have to go back in the company because of the overheads. But you sell 100,000 of them a month because they're going out like wildfire. So you're making fucking whatever that is, $10,000 or whatever, you know, like a chunk each week profit for doing nothing because everyone else is doing all the work. Then that's yours to spend, and you're getting, inverted commas, rich compared to the average minimum wage salary worker.
I think that's wrong.
Would you yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Yep. So that is wrong on several levels. For one,
$1,000.
One individual should not be able to, we can argue on where this point is, that's fine, but there should be a point where people cannot get more wealthy, because we like to believe that the dollar is, or whatever currency you have, is infinite. It doesn't affect, that is bullshit. It is a zero-sum game to some extent. So if someone is making insane amounts of money, it is taking that money out of circulation, and there are people that aren't benefiting from it. It's wrong.
I'm seeing it more as in you've made a great thing. And if you can do that once, you can do that more than once. So you shouldn't be there putting in the manual, whatever.
Well, so hold on.
The more you automate
made the money.
I get what you're saying, but like,
of course,
like, okay, so for me specifically, you're using me for this example. So me specifically having that idea is not worth more. It does not have as much value as the people who are making that product happen. They should be the primary beneficiary. They should.
What if your next project's something that makes their lives better without any risk of them losing their job? So I
Okay.
don't mean a robot.
Okay, it is a what if, but the problem is, I guess this
Yeah.
all boils down to, I think that does not happen in practice. The opposite happens in practice. So you're arguing that this could happen, and I'm saying, and at least from my point of view, it's subjective. I believe that we can measure that is bullshit. That's not what happens in reality. What
No,
happens
of course.
is people
My thing was
hoard
more
it.
just a small amount of profit. Sorry, just before you go too far. All I cared was 10 cents profit over a $1,500.
So
it's such a minor thing. Would that be warranted of you saying, "Oh yeah, I earned that"?
What matters to me is not the minor per piece; it's the overall endpoint. So, how much profit do you make total from this company? I think that that should have a limit.
Basically.
Well, I think that all people should be capped, but I'm saying, to answer your question, I would cap myself because I think that's immoral. No one person
what
should
I
have
consider or what is considered a good wage, and I still can't afford health insurance and all the fucking standard shit for my own family.
Okay, so
like my parents could, you know.
Right, I get your point, but you would not fall under what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that are wealthy, that have more than they can ever need.
Yeah.
So again,
no on you whatsoever. You're the working class.
Yeah, you might be middle.
Well, I still consider that working class. What I was describing, because it was only 10 cents,
You're not
and it
making
only gave him
dollars.
a little bit
hold
more
on.
than a wage in money.
Depends
He
on
just
the
wasn't
scale.
doing the work.
But it depends on the scale of production. So if you're saying 10 cents per whatever you're producing, and you're producing thousands and thousands per day, you could be a multi-billionaire in no time. So
if anything that goes up in
selling nothing.
scale
Look
like
at
that.
crypto. Crypto is really inventing nothing and selling it for
or even likes on a YouTube thing makes you money. So yeah, selling nothing.
Guys, I gotta
You're
go.
Right. Take it easy, pal.
Good to see you. You did great today.
I can't discuss it. Well, we live in a wet paper bag at the side of the road, so I'll catch you all later, okay?
See you later, brother.
Take it easy.
See you, Mal.
Yeah, it's getting late there too.
We got like 20 minutes, by the way. Damn, I almost didn't make it today. All kinds of crazy shit going down.
Oh, wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow's when it's really going to get crazy.
Oh, wait, is tomorrow No Kings Part 2?
Yeah, No Kings protest. So if, like something like 3% of the population rise up, usually that overthrows dictators or something like that. They have a theory.
Well, have you heard that Trump has floated the idea of shooting rockets over California to try to...
I put a video about that in your thing. Yeah,
yeah, you're the person I watched it from. You're the person I got the info from in the first place.
Yeah, that was like, that's fucking insane. Well, the Marines are going to be there too. The Marines are going to be there drilling and shit like that on the I-95 or something like that.
It's obvious that Trump is trying to... He don't want to repeat because he was floored by how many people showed up at the No Kings Part 1, destroyed his little parade, which, by the way, should never happen in a democracy. That's a fucking... Rallies are for fucking dictators. Full stop. That's what rallies are for. We don't need that shit, and it's not a good sign. It's not a good look on us. We should never do that.
He doesn't know that, though. He only sees himself. He has no self-awareness.
You're right. He's a narcissist. It comes with the territory, and that's why you should never... You need to have ways of measuring personality and shit to never put a fucking narcissist in office, because that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
And just look at MAGA, though. I argue with them in chat all the time. Like, it's insane. They're like how they can't put anything together or see anything that Trump does is wrong, and yet they still want to blame Biden for everything and shit like that when Biden like did nothing. Like Biden's net worth is like $9 million. $6 million of that came from selling a book after he was vice president. And Trump has made around $300 billion since entering office.
Almost all of his wealth has accumulated in his second term, and that tells you all you need to know. This is all one big scam for him.
Yep, a grift. Well, he's putting out watches now again, like he's doing another grift. And his fans don't realize it. Like, they're covered in Trump merchandise like they're a fucking sports team, and they don't understand like the optics of it all or anything. Like, it's just wow.
I don't know if they're capable of it, or I think so. It depends on who we're talking about. There's different subsets. There are MAGA people who are just ignorant, and I have no hope. But then there's MAGA people that know, they just don't give a shit. That like whatever it is that, like whatever the thing is that is checked off when they like love Trump, like maybe anti-immigration, that is more of a big deal than the economy and all the things that he's destroying. So there's both of those.
Which he knew that played off the racism card. That's how he got the racist vote back. The whole border thing, which most illegals are here over visas, not the border. And you can't even get them to understand that. Like they don't. It's just,
well, yeah, it means that it's not technically a crime. It's not a criminal offense. And they're like, what? No, that's bullshit. They're illegal. And I'm like, dude, do you not understand what basic shit means? Like, how do you talk to someone like that? It becomes very frustrating.
I mean, we're kind of doomed as a population just because of the lack of education, which education is there to teach critical thinking. That's basically the whole reason for education, just to teach you how to think about things.
That's what we were talking about earlier before you got here. And like, we have such a
I like your
screwed up
explanation for it. Sorry. Like, you're dead right. Like, that's where we learn our critical thinking, just by going to education. Because I was thinking about that specifically. How the fuck we all know it's decreasing, but how the fuck do we increase it again quickly?
Well, in my opinion, no, you can't in one YouTube video type deal. But the problem is, it's a pendulum. It's almost like the Overton window when it comes to politics. But this is political to some extent. It's a anti-intellectualism. It's a shift that happens. It happens in different phases, and I think all we can do is fight to make this phase as short as possible, because you're not stopping it. All you can do is mitigate it. In my personal, it's damage control.
One of the biggest reasons for that. Sorry. It goes back to like when we taxed the rich at like a 90%. We took a lot of that money and then we put that into grant systems, where if you wanted to go to college, you were given it like a $10,000 grant, and that covered all of your university learning, because back then it wasn't made for a for-profit system. But after Reagan came along, he changed it from a grant system to a debt system. And then schools started charging exponentially more, because
they made it profit-based, which is why these people that are like, if you turn everything into the market, everything will be better. You're retarded. Do you not see what has already happened by privatizing shit? We don't want more shit privatized. Well, it depends on what we're talking about. So I won't say everything. Vehicles, very important. We don't want, do you remember those Russian fucking vehicles under the Soviet Union? Complete pieces of shit.
Well, but then a lot of things, though, are actually paid for by taxpayers. Like when it comes to new drug research, that's subsidized by the government. It's given to universities to do all the research, and then the results are given to drug companies to produce the drugs. And that
is insane to me that you guys, with your first world medical system, are in a for-profit system. Every other fucking first world country that has free Medicare for everyone, it's non-profit. It's paid for through the government. And I don't know how they afford so much. I don't know how it's done, but it is done.
Caps.
And
there's caps in the system. Just before schools here were for profit, well, university was for profit. Like you do medical, you put caps on it. So basically a drug company can't charge more than X amount of money for certain drugs. You can't charge more for
cool. Yeah.
It's the same idea we were talking about with corporations. It's regulation. And that's why I'm not a small government guy, because when you have small government and you have, like, some people feel like the government's all up in my business. If we don't have that, corporations and greed and all sorts of fucked up shit when it comes to the environment, when it comes to fucking over your average worker, all that shit ramps up. You need regulations, which means you need at least enough government to enforce those regulations. It's absolutely necessary.
Like Biden did a really good one. Whenever he was in office, he made it so insulin was like $15 a vial. And then Trump got in.
Yes, the first thing he destroyed all of the good things. And I'm not saying that everything Biden did was good, but the things that he did do that were good, immediately Trump just goes, fuck that. We want to hurt people. Like, what the fuck? And then people are so tribal on the right. They go, fuck yeah, own the libs, even though they're getting fucked.
Yeah,
what
they're the ones
retarded?
paying $300 a vial of insulin.
Yes. Yeah, and it's amazing to me to look at the stats on how many people on the right are poor working class people. And I'm like, what? Like, that's the definition of voting against your interests. How stupid can you be?
Which that's by the elite. So we have billionaires that own all the media. They hire millionaires and they tell the working class what to think. And
Yes, and it works. And that's what pisses me off. How do you fight against that? Because you can't use logic. We've tried that. Like,
yeah,
people are too stupid. What we have to educate them, I guess, which means we have to put more money into education. That's going to be hard because Trump's trying to fucking dismantle the entire Department of Education.
which that just takes funding from rich places that give it to poor places that actually have an education.
Yes, it's all by design, in my opinion, and it helps the right exponentially the more you destroy education, because the right thrives on people that don't know shit. It's why Trump says, "I love the uneducated," and he's telling the truth because they're
Which
easier
he's
to
not
manipulate.
uneducated himself. Like, listen to him talk.
True,
Oh my
that's true. That is very true. And so, and it's like people can't use basic critical thinking. Like, what that I have to explain to people how you can tell that Trump is not a fucking genius. Is there any hope for anyone? Like, that you need to explain that, because it's not bias. It's not being a leftist. It's very basic shit. He speaks at a third grade level. And then you could, like, the counter argument could be, that's not intelligence. That's personal, like, whether or not you care about grammar and shit. That's not true, because grammar isn't like a specialized thing. It's automatic. If you have a certain IQ, like, how using certain vocabulary and shit, you pick up an everyday speech. It's like boom, boom, boom. It's automatic. You can't use that. Like, how do you reach these people?
Oh, and just how he talks about, like, only I can fix it. I do everything the greatest. I am the best at everything. I have the best people, everything like that. Like,
yes, he's like, I say retarded in a very like, it's an emotional appeal, but I'm not too far off when I say it about Trump. It's close. It's pretty close to being true.
and a lot of things is it's a lot of the rich people are like this. Now you have a lot of these really smart ones like Bill Gates. He's very intelligent. He dropped out of university and then developed Windows systems and shit like that. Like, he was top smart.
Yeah.
And you have dumbasses like Trump that never had to do anything. His dad bought a wing to the Pennsylvania University, and he just basically got skipped right through the university. Here's your degree for doing nothing.
Yes, but we have this culture of this automatic. It's why I go so far into trying to explain that we're not a meritocracy. That is important, because this belief makes it to where all you need to use as a gauge for merit is, hey, this person has money. We as a society, we believe Donald Trump has money. That's all I need to know. He's a genius. He works hard. He's a genius. Like, we automatically link those, and it's not true. It's fucking bullshit.
Well,
So we have to get away from that.
Too. The films really fucked up America.
That's true. They've catered into this exact same idea. It's this propaganda that only helps the rich.
Which at the time, Hollywood was the rich. I mean, the actors were some of the highest.
That's true. And yeah. And I do believe that this is unpopular for people on my own side, at least some. I believe a lot of the left, in terms of celebrities, like wealthy, they're not real. It's like almost like I don't know if I want to call it controlled opposition. It's a smoke screen. They don't actually believe what they're telling people. It's like it's marketing. It's clever marketing, in my opinion. I think there's very few examples of truly left-leaning celebrities, like, say, Keanu Reeves, maybe.
He's very altruistic.
He is, and he's legit. He's true. I think almost all of them, with very few exceptions, they're all liars. Even people that are hailed as the most greatest of us all, like, say, Taylor Swift. That is very controversial, because most people will say, dude, fuck you. Taylor Swift, she gives a lot of money. I think that's by design. It's to, within a certain threshold, it's to make people think that she's like the most altruistic person in the world.
She came from a town not far from me, a place called Milton, basically. she grew up in a big manor house. Like I seen where she lived as a kid, so upper middle class, but
Mhm.
she didn't come from like a super rich family or anything like that.
Right, but if you you have to gauge people's actions, not only what you can see obviously in the public eye, but you have to take their words and measure it against their actions in everyday life, which is harder to do. But I do not believe that Taylor Swift is a good person. I don't. Don't get me wrong, because
Profit driven.
yes, and that to me is all I need to know is that you have far more than you could ever possibly need. So yes, you donate more than your average celebrity, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. But my metric for quote good is far more strict than that, I guess, is what I would say. If you have if you have Hummers and fucking Mercedes and fucking Dodge Vipers and shit, you have a mansion, which you don't need a mansion. No
Well,
one
they have
needs
like
a
10
mansion.
mansions.
That's even worse. But that's my point. Like, because you get, I think it should be percentage wise and after a certain amount, because you're a better person if you give literally 90% of your paycheck to, and I'm not saying people should do this, by the way, but if you give 90% of your paycheck and you make $75,000 a year, you're a far better person than who gives 30% of their income that's a billionaire. And I don't even think it's a close call, because I'm not just measuring the end result. I'm measuring how much does it harm you to give however XYZ amount.
I mean, this kind of goes back to the Greek proverb: "Men, old men who plant trees whose shade they'll never sit in." So basically, try to make your society better for everybody around you, even though you're not going to personally benefit from it.
Yes, that is altruism in a nutshell. That's a perfect way to describe it. But too often it's virtue signaling. I hate to use a right wing thing, but it's a real thing.
Oh
People
yeah,
want to, they pretend to, and a lot of times, like helping out, like charity, is a scheme to avoid tax. It's tax write-off shit.
Yep.
And so you can't just go, oh, this person donated money, they're a good person. It's not that simple.
Could you imagine, Trobes, these people think they are owed free rides? That spins me out how a lot of Americans think that they shouldn't help people that are suffering in their own society, on their own country.
So some of the way this is framed, I disagree with. So I think that, Austin, what you believe is biased by its very, I think that you believe that all people mostly are just shit human beings and that I'm just attacking the rich. I don't believe that. So, and one way of measuring this, it's not perfect, but in my opinion, you can measure it by going, it does not take a genius to become a millionaire. What all that it takes is a willingness to not have any moral compass whatsoever. You can easily become wealthy by just fuck everybody else.
Which
And
that's a sociopathic disorder. So your
yes,
altruistic people tend, like, so you're really smart people, they actually don't become rich because they're too altruistic. They want to take care of everybody else, so they actually give a lot of their wealth away. Whereas psychopaths and sociopaths, it's all about themselves, and then they become the rich ones because they want to hoard everything.
right. Absolutely. So, Austin, what you're saying here, the fuck that everyone gets to benefit from it, there is a presupposition involved here. Your presupposition is that these poor people that we're talking about are evil, greedy pieces of shit that just want a free ride. Now, from my point of view, we can argue about this, but from my point of view, that is factually incorrect. That's not the reality. That is the shit that the wealthy want you to think, so that things stay status quo. It is not true. The people, for the most part, I'm not saying every individual, but for the most part, people that are homeless, that have nothing, are not in that situation because they're lazy, because they want everything handed to them on a fucking silver platter. That's bullshit. For the most part, it's shit that happened to them that was outside of their control.
Yep.
That's my view.
Like California is a good example. California used to be, people could go there, live a good life. You could buy a house and everything. But because of all the big tech industry that moved in there, they ran property prices through the roof where nobody can actually afford a house. And it's only because of a few mega corporations that nobody can afford anything anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Austin, what we're getting into here is I am not going to say that the people you're describing does not exist. What I will say though, the percentage of people that you're like, just to kind of try to steel man you, I guess, you would say that this is like a majority of the people because that's how you're coming off. I'm going to say that is bullshit. The people that you're describing, I would say, is less than 10% of people that are in really bad shape that like just can't afford to make ends meet. I would say
And
that you
especially
think
the
that is
rich.
a higher percentage than that.
The
You
rich
guys are in a first world country. The best of the first world countries, you should be able to guarantee that every citizen within your country is at the level where they can survive.
Absolutely.
And that means with shelter.
Agreed.
Right? That's a
That
base
should be
universal thing for your citizens.
not
Now,
only
from
that.
there, living is another thing. If they want to advance and earn more and live rather than just survive, then good on them. That's all under their own steam. But
yeah,
shit,
that's under universal basic income.
I completely agree with you. And
that
let's go
definitely.
even further, because we're not just, when we're talking about us, we're not just talking about another country. We have countries that have far less than us that provide these things that you're talking about, and it's no problem.
Exactly.
Now, hold on. We are not just the wealthiest country in the world. We're the wealthiest country in the history of the world that we know of, period. There is no fucking excuse not to provide basic shit, like basic shelter.
For your own citizens. Exactly.
I agree completely. And so, but they want to make everything, and this is the trick that the rich pull. They want to make it seem like it's like this ultra accountability mode. They want to make it seem like everything that happens to you is completely within your control and is the result of your actions, which is factually bullshit. That's not true. We have to fight.
Most places don't do free dentistry. Your country could afford free dentistry too, man.
Exactly. But again, when they pull this shit and they've tricked and pulled the propaganda on so many people, everyone believes that, that the poor people are poor because they don't want to work. That's bullshit. It's not true. And we have to find a way to fight that propaganda. It's hard because this has been pushed since the 80s, since Reagan, at least. And it's like, it's become like, they don't even have to think. This is automatic to them. It's like factually true to them, even though it's not. So I don't know how to fight it, but we have to find a way, because to me, that's the key. We can't go any further until we get rid of that bullshit.
Getting rid of shareholders as a thing, just have it where there can't be, everything has to be like a private company, no public company bullshit, and get it to where all that money goes back after, CEO can only make so much, cap the CEO pay, and then everything else
is owned by employees.
Well,
have you heard of that one dude? I can't remember his name, but he had a company. He's famous. And he decided to cut himself back so that each of his employees could make, I think, $97,000 a year.
Yeah.
It was close to 100. But after that, we had a perfect example. People were like, there's no way he can make a profit. His profit expanded by like fourfold. Everything, like every single metric that you could use to tell whether or not a company was successful, increased dramatically. All of them.
Steam's another good example of this. They have like 79 employees. They make like, I forget how many millions of dollars a year. Each of the employees makes around $1 million a year now. Like they just
keep the backbone of your company happy, and it'll only progress.
Yep,
that's their backbone.
And the beauty of that is it's a real world. It's an anecdote, of course. You have to say that. But it's a real world measurable thing that goes against their fucking narrative. We need more shit like that. And I think eventually we can break through all the people that believe this ultra responsibility, accountability shit.
Well, and
it just means that businesses can make profit without greed.
Well, it's private equity.
Yes.
So private equity is one of the biggest things, all these private equity companies. So I worked for a company that was owned by a private equity company. When I looked into this private equity company, they own like 50 different freaking businesses, all different kinds of things. Like, and that's just for profit only. As soon as one of them's not profitable, boom, they just close it. They fire all the workers.
Yep. We need
This goes all the way
regulation.
back to that 10 cents for your fibrillator thing. Like,
Mhm.
is it the point where, not, well, where is the point where you're still making everybody else happy and it's all covered and everything like that, and you're only making fuck all, but that fuck all, because you're selling so many things, is a lot.
So again, I don't deal in the small, like the percent profit per piece, because I think that that's not necessary, but the end result I do. That's where I think we should jump in. And one of the best metrics that I know of that could be easily implemented is the number of times CEOs make compared to their workers. And now I use that in my video with comparing, like, our grandparents had it so much better than we do now, because we're close to 300 times. CEO makes 300 times what your average their own workers make in the same company. And so to me, what would fix this whole deal, that's all we have to focus on. The CEO should be capped at, in my opinion, you're probably going to think this is too much, between 10 and 20 times maximum what their employees make. That you don't need any more than that. You're still making drastically more. So you can't claim that it's not merit. Like, okay, you happen to be smarter or whatever. Yes, you're making more money, but it shouldn't be 300 times. That's fucking crazy.
This came from Steam people getting paid $1 million each. We didn't actually say what the CEO of Steam got. I'm sure that's a little bit more than $1 million. And like all I'm saying, so to swap back to that defibrillator thing, if you just paid your employees triple normal wage, but the example's still the same. If you got a sliver, but the sliver due to quantity was a lot, that's you being the CEO of Steam. You get your 3 million compared to their 1 million or whatever.
So the reason I said
consider that not
yes, and that's why I tried to avoid this problem. So hold on, I tried to avoid this problem earlier by telling you I'm not focused on the individual, like, per unit profit, because that's irrelevant to the big picture. What matters is the total amount of profit you make. So if you're making 300 times,
Well, they're the same thing in my mind. I've just described what makes up your annual income in my example. That's the only thing.
Yes, like, but you don't have to focus on the individual. All you need to worry about is how much total profit they're taking home in comparison to their employees. Like that's what matters. And well, not just total profit, but total profit after a certain window. Like there's a threshold that once you hit this threshold, I believe that you should be highly scrutinized.
I get it, and you continually say how transparent you will be, and I agree that's great, blah blah blah, and I'm assuming all that's taking effect, but still with this very small sliver, 2 cents off of every item sold, that's worth a chunk, like the minimal profit possible, but still, because you sell quantity, you make your buck.
So, but hold on. The problem here, in my opinion,
you deserve it here in my head.
I completely disagree. Completely disagree.
You're not
That's not what they're making.
Most of the people, most of the product that you're talking about is not your labor. It's the worker's labor. You don't deserve that. I completely disagree.
That's why it's only 2 cents.
No. You're going.
That's not how it works.
I feel like you keep going to the small to make your narrative, which is kind of disingenuous. What matters is the total amount of profit that you're making. You're going it's only 2 cents per unit. Who cares? What matters is the total amount of money you're making.
I could be just changing that to annual income and generating money amounts.
That's not how a business even works. So that all goes into the company, and then you just pull a salary from that company.
That's true. That's true. I hadn't even thought about that.
You could still do the item per item thing like I was doing, but you could just as easily do annual income compared to annual profit. It's identical.
I don't see how it's identical. Like maybe I'm misunderstanding
Because the
something.
thing making your profit is the item that you sell.
Yes,
So
but
that's your
okay,
profit.
so
So minus overheads, that's
the
your
amount,
annual income.
right?
Or
But
your
the whole
company's
point
annual
is
income. And
there
you're right,
should be
that's
a
the same
threshold
from
at which, like, you seem to believe sky's the limit. Like,
no. I want to know your threshold.
well, that's difficult. I don't. Well, one, we're already past time.
Of course.
But like I can't quickly answer that. Like there's
No,
so
and
many
fair enough.
factors.
It
There's
was
so many
more
factors that
rhetorical
I'm
for that.
not. Well, oh, that is the okay. Rhetorically, that is the end all. That's our discussion in a nutshell. That's where we. That's the important answer. The answer to that question is everything. I guess is what I'm saying.
I was trying to
Where
make
is that line?
small a sliver as possible to find out where you would consider it not a for-profit. You know, like a,
Okay. I get
you
I get it.
consider it. Oh, I sort of deserve that because I did put all this effort in.
So, but
And
I
it's not
think
my fault that it's become popular.
but
I'm
I
glad
think
it's popular.
to use what you're trying to get at, I think the easiest way to deal with that is to go to the big picture. So after like annual income, for example, after what point annually pure profit should it just not be a thing? I think that is more for our purposes. I think that is a better measurement than like a per unit profit, because that sort of insinuates that it's the sky's the limit per profit or per piece, which I think that's the wrong way to look at it, in my opinion, because I don't
find
have
in
a
this
problem.
situation, if everybody's happy, then the remainder is deservedly yours. Everybody's
disagree.
very happy. You can keep them even happier if you like,
So
because you want to, because you're going to use them again on your next project.
So the
and
issue
you want them
is,
to want to be there.
I agree with you, but
That's not how factory workers
you're
work,
funneling everything through this belief that the CEO is like almost like it's by nature that they are in charge and the one make. I disagree with that. It should be the opposite.
Company workers, because they have the knowledge, and you want to just. I mean, being in charge doesn't mean you just get to run your mouth. You definitely need the input of your workers.
Yes,
Don't get me wrong there. I'm just going by a good boss. But they also has
it
to
shouldn't be the case.
Successful.
But
You're
I don't
talking about
believe it
very
should be the
small
case.
business. That's small
Yes,
business.
I am, Gads. Definitely, this is definitely
This
the
is
sort
not
of system
even
that I
close to corporations
stem
that are
from.
dealing with
Okay,
billions
so
of
course
dollars
not.
a year.
So that becomes more
Of course
difficult.
not.
So yeah, so we're talking about different things, like unintentionally.
It was CLA talking about corporation. He was talking about generating his thing larger scale.
Yes.
So from small to big.
But
So that wasn't
still,
really
I
corporation
already took care of that by saying we shouldn't focus on the per unit piece. We should, it already eliminates the need for this conversation because I've already dealt with that problem. Like, if you haven't
understand why I brought it up. I just wanted to know what sliver you would accept as, this is just for me.
Yes, I understand why you brought it up, but I still would argue that it would be better to have that conversation with a total like annual income or annual profit margin.
100,000, 200,000,
and to answer your question, I can't. Not right now. I'd have to think about it. I need to do more research. Like there's so much I'm admitting that I'm ignorant here. I do believe that there does need to be a threshold, but I can't quickly give you an answer right now. Like this is where I think that threshold should be. Fair?
Like,
of course. And that's what every CEO is doing. And over time, I think they get greedier and greedier.
Mm-hmm.
Or more
I agree.
Over time, and that's why they're
which is why regulation is necessary.
Too easy. So, why shouldn't I take more?
Exactly. Well, what they do is they convince themselves that it's merit, that I'm a genius. I work harder than everyone, even when you can measurably just demonstrate that it's just absolute backward bullshit. Like people that cross their arms all day and sit at a desk while everyone else is like making shit happen. They're like, I deserve this. I'm a genius. They don't have to be a genius. Like it's usually just mental gymnastics where they're rationalizing it. Like, what do you call it? Post hoc rationalization or something where you like build it up backward. Like you're convincing yourself that you are
like a genius, that you work harder, etc., when it's simply the facts don't match up. I don't have a problem if you can directly tie it to merit, but I would argue, at least in my system here in the United States, you're going to see the opposite. That's not true. It's not merit.
I have a boss here who won an award for building a Hungry Jack's store for himself in 17 days, from block of land to building ready to run with customers in 17 days. That makes, or at the time, this is about 10 years ago, it was set to make at least $1 million profit a year. This guy is a lot richer. That's nothing to him. But so in 17 days, he's just increased his profit margin for himself by $1 million. That's took no effort on his behalf apart from thinking of the idea. Let's do a Hungry Jack store and getting other people to do it all for him from that point on.
Yep.
And from there now on, he makes $1 million at least a year. It's probably 2 to 3 now because of inflation and all that shit that's happened recently. That's what I hate about these rich cunts. They get to do that kind of shit.
I completely agree. That goes even further. You're right.
That's pure capitalism, and that's working totally legally.
Yep.
And they're well in their rights. And the only reason they can do that is because they got like 100-odd million to their name in the first place to throw into it.
Which again goes back to regulation. That should not be legal. We need to find a way to keep that from happening, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still all Hungry Jack's regulated prices and all that kind of shit. It's just because that's what they roughly make a year around here, or did. Yeah, it's all just the math that makes them that money. So over the next 30 years, there's 30 million for nothing. Let's whack up a few more of these. It only costs about $1 million to whack up.
I agree, but you can.
Company.
Right, you're right. But you can base regulations on the math. It can be any formula you want. So it can take care of the problem no matter what the problem is. As long as you set the formula up properly.
Factor it in. Yeah, but, factor it in. Simple.
Real quickly, Austin. This is just semantic, but you aren't ignorant. You just don't have the facts. That's literally the definition of ignorance. That's why I didn't say stupid. Because stupidity is about like your intellectual capacity or your ability to think. Like me not knowing something is literally that's being ignorant. Like you're being nice to me, which I appreciate, but that's just what I am. I'm ignorant on certain things. There's nothing wrong with admitting it.
Yeah, definition of ignorance, lack of knowledge in a topic or subject.
Yes, so that's what I am. Like I'm not saying that to down myself. It's just true. It's factually true.
Now you gotta watch, because the older generation where I'm from, if you call them ignorant, they think you're calling them rude.
That's true. That's why I hate ambiguity in language. I hate it. I hate that there's so many usages for every word, and especially, and someone brought this up recently, literal. Literal is literally a usage of literal is figuratively. What the fuck is that? Literal is supposed to mean factually, objectively. And there's a usage for the opposite. Like, you're butchering everything. Like, that just drives me crazy. Why? Why do we do that?
CEO of Goodwill is evil. That guy gets almost everything for free and sells it all for a profit.
I don't know anything about him. By the way, I'm already past. I'm going to run another 15 minutes. Just fuck it.
Nowhere to go today.
Not today. Well, and I showed up really late. I wasn't able to advertise like I usually do because I just got back. My freaking exhaust system fell off of my car. All sorts of shit. And it took like 6 hours to sight in my fucking sights. Craziness.
Yeah, dude. Car, like, oh my God, it's so expensive to fix a car nowadays, like just to get things done to it. I remember I had to put new catalytic converters on our Jeep years ago. And it required basically most of the exhaust system. It's like $4 fucking grand.
$4 grand? What the fuck?
Wow.
For the labor, and then the catalytic converters, which are like freaking $900 a pop, and then the rest of the system.
That's fucking outrageous.
I mean, that
I
was
use my
crazy.
work ute for as much as fucking possible these days, just so that I don't have to use the car that I still have to own because I've got a family to carry and register.
I wish
and
that
all
I
that
was
shit.
more versed
Yeah, I
in this
use it
sort of
fuck
shit.
all.
I kind of wish that, like, as a child, I was interested in motors and shit. Because you know how much money I would save by being able to work on my own shit? I could still do it now, but Jesus Christ, I'm starting from like scratch. It
Well,
would be
it's
so much.
I've
knowing
used
how
3
to
tanks of
get into
fuel
the shit.
in my own car that I've owned for a year. Like I've only used 3 tanks of fuel, like because that's how
Jeez.
much I use the work ute rather than my own car. Yeah,
Wow.
Which you could get a lot of your money back. So if you're really smart about certain things, like you can, there's a lot of tax deductions you can do. So if you use a vehicle solely for work and the fuel, you can actually keep all your receipts from every time you fuel up and then get that money back at your tax return.
I agree
Pretty
with,
much.
I think that's great for, especially for small businesses, but I think that it should not be a thing for people that make over a certain amount.
Yeah, I
Like-
mean, most of the corporations, they get so many socialist benefits, basically.
Yeah, well, they don't like to call it this, but it's technically welfare. They don't like to hear it, but most of our welfare goes to the wealthy, not to the poor, and
Mhm.
it's completely the opposite of how shit should be. They need it less than anyone else in our society, yet they get most of it.
I still pay for uni fees, even though I finished paying them off about 6 years ago. So what happens is that gets paid each week from my gross tax. Become tax return time, I get a small chunk back, and it's at the gross rate rather than non-gross, whatever that is. Like it saves me money, but it's just means that it's my savings basically. That's a good way to save money from my gross earnings rather than my non-gross earnings each week.
But then that's kind of like the tree narrative. It's you're putting that money into the economy to help improve the lives of other people, which it will never benefit you personally, but it's going to benefit them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm getting it all back come my tax return.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm not
You'll have to
actually
pay
giving
everybody
it
who
to
pays
them.
it in, like because like in a lot of European countries, like everybody pays into university like charges, but then that's for all the younger people that are going to be going through university.
And that, in my opinion, is the primary difference, at least economically, between the right and the left. The right are, this is my money. This is, they don't think about the collective at all. And the left in general, there are exceptions, the left are the opposite, which is everything.
This has been taken wrong on by the chat anyway. Nah, fuck that. All it is a savings system for me that comes from my gross earnings rather than
right. So what we're talking about two different things. That's not what I was talking about. I understood that. Then we kind of moved into a general talk about like right. I brought up right versus left when it comes to altruism, what Gadwin brought up. So it's sort of linked, but we weren't talking about you.
Medicare's like that here. Medicare, Social Security, like all the working people are paying into it, but that money is actually going to pay the elderly who are retired. That you're not like when you retire, you're not pulling off of some magic savings account you've accumulated. You are being paid by that workers at that moment.
I agree with you to an extent, Austin. So if we lived in a true, like hypothetical meritocracy, that would fix everything. The only people that would be like the have-nots would be the people who truly just don't give a shit. They don't want to work, whatever. But that's not the world we live in. That's a bullshit reality. The truth is most of these people are fucked for reasons outside of their control. That's where I think we disagree, which is fine, by the way. But like, so the problem with what you're saying is like, you do your own work, you get your benefits yourself, is that implicitly you believe that we already have a sort of meritocracy. We don't live in this world that you're describing. It's just not real.
Like Austin, if you're born without like hands and you can't work, basically, do you think we should just get rid of you? I mean,
that's a good point. I haven't even thought about that particular angle. And so it's not how much you pay in taxes. It's what does your taxes cover? What are you paying for? if I have to give, like, I don't care if it's like 40% of my meager income, but what it does is literally saves lives, and I can prove it, and it's measurable. Fuck yeah, have at it. I don't need it that badly. Like, my little creature comforts are not more important than the lives of individuals, especially that I don't believe that they're like lazy or they're bad in some way. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. My default, now I will say there are people like you're describing, but my default as a general rule of thumb is if I don't know anything else about them, I default them to innocent, because you're erring on the side of caution. I would rather do that than just believe all people are pieces of shit, because that's not true. That's just not true.
No. So there's a lot of mutations. There's plenty of people born without like body parts and stuff like that, or deformed. Like there's a lot of disabled people.
Yeah.
Cut off because they're selfish. Where are we? The Middle East? Fuck's sake, mate.
Yeah, but it's
You
important
don't
to
say
distinguish
innocent
these
or
things.
guilty either. You say guilty or not guilty.
But even if it's not innocent or guilty, it's moral versus immoral, or deserving versus undeserving. And I think that that is just incorrect. I think it's framed the wrong way, because we do not, in my opinion, no, it's not my opinion, because we can measure it. We do not have a meritocracy. That's bullshit. We have to get out of that way of thinking. Like, it's wrong. It's just, it's
Great. We provide enough that everybody should have enough food to eat, shelter, transportation. Like we have enough to provide everybody with everything they'd ever need for basic life.
Even the education, free education over time returns 300% profit. So
Yep.
over time, it's R&D. R&D returns 300%.
really,
And
but
that
it,
includes education. So your education pays for itself, and you have smarter people, but they don't want smarter people.
You're bringing
Exactly.
in people
That's
who
why
might invent the cure for cancer or invent the next big thing that would actually improve society overall.
Yep.
You're actually getting them into the education.
And that is why, so for this specific thing, you're absolutely right on the return on investment, but I don't agree with using that as our metric, because that's not the end all be all. You can bring people, that's true. And I agree with using that so that they're on board, but that shouldn't be the end all be all and the only way we frame things, because there's many things that are beneficial for society that cannot be measured in terms of profit. And that doesn't make it wrong. Like, that in itself is an end. That's a good thing. We want that. And again, we'll go back to the difference between like our current like administration is I'm still paying the same amount of taxes, but where are those taxes going? Tax cuts for the wealthy. They're not going to like US aid.
You have higher population.
Exactly.
So
it's not going to
money.
things that matter. We're getting fucked, in short.
Which one thing that would change, Austin actually got me thinking about the Middle East. So if you go to Saudi Arabia, they nationalize their oil reserves. So every citizen that's born in Saudi Arabia, they get a cut of that. The average income in Saudi Arabia is like $180,000 a year that everybody basically gets.
Damn.
Basically subsidized check.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
That's why they're all driving like Ferraris and all these Lamborghinis and everything like that, because the whole population gets the benefit of those natural resources of the country.
That's how it should be. And so that's the big picture version. So I used like a corporation as like a smaller scale, but it's the same idea. The collective should be the primary focus, not the individual. The individual.
One of the Scandinavian countries runs their energy grid off of the geo vents type shit.
They provide everybody
None
heating.
of them pay for energy, so they're all benefiting there in similar fashion, different method type thing. Like,
right.
Exactly agree with you. Was trying to just throw in another excellent example.
That is a good point.
Oath. You should be sharing your national resources with the entire country where these resources are coming from.
I agree.
Like Alaska does that. Up in Alaska, it's the only state I think it does it, is everybody gets a check based off of how much oil is sold out of Alaska. And so every
Wow.
month or every year, those people get like, I think it's like $1,400 or something. It's not much, but it should be more. But if we did that for all resources across the whole United States, when it comes to like timber, minerals, oil, like things like that, and we did that for everything, everybody'd probably be getting a check for like 20,000 a year or so.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's just one avenue. Like that's not even talking about the work sort of incentives and the way we should do things that we talked about before. If you did all of this, it would be not perfect because that doesn't exist, but it would be the closest thing that you could get to a perfect society or a utopia, in my opinion. Like, how could it get better? The only way you can argue against this is if you think that like this rigid hierarchical structure, which is kind of how things are now, that again, this bullshit that the wealthy somehow there's some sort of merit behind it. They're either geniuses, which is you can easily disprove with most, not all. There are geniuses that are, I'm not saying that there aren't, but it's not the rule. That's bullshit. It's just not true. It's people that are just more personality wise aligned to be sociopaths that are, they can easily fuck people over and they do it and it works and we allow it. And it shouldn't be the case. We got to find a way to fucking, I guess, regulate that shit.
Teach morals.
That's hard to do because this is it's not just one generation. This is multiple generations of a way that Americans think, not just Americans, but like many.
Earlier.
It is. And so this is something that will take a long time, in my opinion, to combat, but we have to at least start. We got to start somewhere.
Maybe if we can get alignment with AI could be one of the greatest forces to enforcing this kind of change because they can look at all the data at the same time and actually come up with a cohesive understanding of what to do, where a human mind isn't just capable right now to actually figure out all these minute details.
True, but we can focus on the things that we can measure, the smaller things that we can, and improve those because the big pictures, like you said, it's very complicated. But there's places that we can make positive traction, I guess.
Same here, Austin, but I've got a problem because some other people consider that to be beyond being just modest. All I want is for a car for me and my partner, a nice house for my family with maybe a spare room for extra shit or a study, maybe a swimming pool, but that's not necessary. But, you know, good healthcare and safe places. That's what my parents had. So that's what I feel I'm entitled to with my family. And I cannot afford that by myself. And they could.
So in this,
that means I'm fucking what?
Then I would disagree with the people that you're describing that would be against your situation. So for me specifically, I can only speak for myself. My bar is far beyond you. I'm talking about like literally the 1%. Like you're nowhere near being a billionaire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Exactly, man.
But I agree with you.
Well
so
off in the standard of things. I can't even afford proper good healthcare. You know, like I can afford basic healthcare
I
for
have
my
no
family,
healthcare.
and they don't even fucking use it.
right.
So I'm paying for this shit for no reason.
So I will say, from my perspective, it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier. I agree with what you're saying, and I don't want it to be misunderstood, but it's not a priority to me because there are people who have nothing that don't have it. Like that needs to be tackled first.
I'm comparing to just a standard for my family now, though.
Right.
I probably would have had more of that view when I was single, but now it's like fucking hell. I should have. The moment I stop paying for healthcare for my family is the moment that I fucking need it, which is healthcare is free in Australia, Melody. But if you like really fuck yourself up and you need like to not look fucked in the face because you get it on the gravel on your face, they'll stop your bleeding for free. So they
So,
won't do the plastic surgery for free.
Oh,
and that's where
but
the
cosmetic.
healthcare comes from.
that's cosmetic, and you're not going to get me to feel sorry for you not having like I'm
No,
sorry.
exactly. But if my
Like if
kid
you're a burn
has an
victim, I could
accident,
see
I want
covering it.
them to be covered for that shit because I'm now a father, is what I'm getting at. So as a
So-
family now, I
so-
want it. And the second that I stop paying for it is the second that one of my kids has an accident
Mhm.
and needs fucking orthodontic surgery, wouldn't be covered by Medicare, but is covered
get-
by the health insurance.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Or the really fucking up their hip in an injury, they'll be put out of pain with the healthcare for free, but they
Right.
won't have the corrective surgery on the hip. That would have to be covered by the healthcare.
Right. I get what you're saying. So what I try to do is I put it in perspective. So your average individual in your region, which would be Australia, like does your average person, does most people have this additional insurance? Like outside of what? Okay. Then what you're saying, and this is
Quickly
kind of
answer Melody's question.
this is
Blood work's free.
okay.
She's paying
So-
$2,000.
It's fine. So what is implicit in your statement that you're worried about your family? You don't have to say this because it's automatic. You're saying
Yeah.
that your family is more important than all of the other people, which I disagree with. Because it's your family does not make them more important than like a person that lives on the side of the road. Like, but you're making that case.
No, this is why I can't stop paying for it.
Well, you can.
I can, but I can't because of that fact that it's my family. I know what you're saying.
I get it. I get
It's
it,
my
but it's
family
still
now, and
implicit.
the moment that I do Murphy's Law, we'll say that's when they have that accident that needs it, you know?
Right.
So,
I get what you're saying.
Which I mean,
it's
with
only
an
going
automated
up.
future here, things are going to change
Mm.
very rapidly here. Like things are like there's a new study out over 51% of things on the internet are now AI driven. And that
What
was
the
last
fuck?
year.
What
Like
the
almost
fuck?
like it is booming so fast that it's replacing things. It's like even in medical fields, like it's doing medical discovery. There's robots now that can do surgery. Like
It's already, people were like, in 5 years, it's going to affect jobs. We're already way past that, dude. Like,
Oh, yeah.
people don't realize how quickly this shit is moving.
Oh yeah, the exponential rate of this is just astounding, and the rich know this. Like
Yep.
the AI companies pushing this, they already know. 'cause
Well,
they
of
have the
course,
best
because
model.
they make more profit. You don't have to pay AI. You have to pay people.
Yep.
I mean, it's the ball's in their court. And that's why right now we need to do something about this income inequality because it's going to get so bad that people will be dying in the streets. And I'm not talking about the current percentage. It's going to be a huge chunk of people dying in the streets.
Gen Z right now is revolutionary. Like they are tearing down governments. Madagascar, Indonesia, the Philippines, Nepal all had Gen Z rise up and basically burn down their parliament buildings and just chase the leaders off because they're so sick of this system of greed. And that was all within the past couple months. Madagascar.
That is what we need. And I hate to say that because people then go, you're calling for a civil war. I'm not going to say I'm calling for it, but I will say the same thing that Odd drew attention to before. That's just a fact. It's the statistical fact that once we reach this level of inequality, historically, not just in the United States, the only thing that has ever remedied it is revolution. So we need to get enough people. If it's just the current, like I would say it's less than 1% of the population. If it's just us, and I include myself in that are ready, that think that it's time, we're going to get stomped flat on day one. We're going to be in prison and then it's over. We need at least probably what, 10% of the population on board?
Actually, 3%. It's
3%.
3%.
Okay, that sounds
They'll rise up.
So
And
we
then
need that much though. Otherwise it's going to fail.
Tomorrow.
I don't know how to fucking wake people up to get more people on board.
Tomorrow might be the day because if he starts the Insurrection Act where the military starts basically policing people, you're going to see the people rise up, and especially with like that gun registry now pissing off all the Second Amendment people.
And that's the right. He's making a big fuck up right now, and that's a good thing. But you're right, and I hope what you're saying is true, and this second No King's Day becomes a big platform that causes a massive number of people to fucking rebel.
Hopefully it shifts the Overton window where we see greed and inequality as the main drivers of change.
I hope so. But I'm not holding my breath, because do you know how many times I've seen things like this when it comes to Trump or something similar? And I was like, this is it. There's no way people are going to follow that fucker now. And they still do. So I'm not holding my breath.
I'm bewildered at times, like how we're even at this stage. Like it's
Exactly. That's my point. Like, I can't believe I even said since the very beginning, I wasn't even worried. There's no fucking way Donald Trump is going to get elected. Not a chance. There's no fucking way. Fuck, was I wrong? Like, and every step of the way after that, my problem is sort of the opposite of what I was saying with Austin about my positivity with people. I had too much faith in people. I didn't realize the level of stupidity and ignorance and just not giving a fuck about facts that people have.
well,
And
there's
I've
so
learned.
inconsistencies with that last election where I'm pretty 100% sure that Republicans in many different ways rigged our last election to get their
That's true as well.
dictator in charge.
But even with that being the case, there's still way too many people who actually did vote for him, considering the extreme shit that he says, like the
Mhm.
shit that he does. So again, you're right, and that's a valid point to bring up. But even with what you just said being accounted for, it's mind-boggling that like what 25 to 33 or so % of the population agrees with him no matter what. No matter
Yeah.
what.
And these aren't people who are really politically inclined. Like they don't really understand politics or the meaning of their actions when it comes to these kind of things either.
But
They
that's the
think in
problem.
bubbles.
Right. So how do you fit that? Dude, if you told me like before all of this that was 5% of the population, I'd be like, okay, that sounds about right. 33%, 1/3 of everyone in the United States being that fucking stupid? I can't wrap my head around that. What the fuck?
77 million. So, I mean, it was about a fifth or a sixth of the population voted for Trump. If we go by the actual vote count.
That's still too much.
Yeah, it's still like the Republican Party makes up, I think it's like 23% of registered voters.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it is worth noting, I try not to straw man people. Many people who voted for Trump didn't vote for Trump because they loved everything they said.
They hated Kamala.
Yes, they were so against Kamala or the Democrats in general that they thought that this was the lesser of two evils.
That's how my family looks at it. Like, oh, I ain't voting for a Democrat. I'm conservative.
Well, at the very least, that's better. The lesser of two evils is better than being MAGA, because MAGA is full on fucking fascist Nazi shit. Like,
oh yeah, I've seen those chat things. The Young Republican chat thing.
yes,
That's crazy, dude.
it is, and that's what I'm talking about. It's not just that exists. If you told me that exists, I'd be like, well, duh, it exists. The percentage of people that fall into this category is what baffles me. How are that many fucking people on board with this absolutely insane shit?
Yeah, that culture, which I grew up around people. Like, there's this kid, I can't remember his name, but he was always like, every weekend we go to the skating rink. We met up there every Friday. That's where all the cool kids went. And he every week racist jokes, like this kind of Nazi kind of bullshit, like, and always saying that kind of shit, which he thought was funny. He got laughs because of it, so therefore he kind of pushed it even more because people laughed about it.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to run another 20 minutes. But this time I've got to stick to it. 20 minutes, and that'll be
3-hour stream.
Yep.
Maybe this one will be the big one for you. I think your subscription base is getting up there. Got to hit that 500 mark.
It's very slow, but to be fair, some of that's me. I haven't been putting out as much content lately. I'm kind of stuck. This is purely selfish, I'll admit it. Sometimes I get in these modes to where I get addicted to something. Sometimes it's a video game. Sometimes well, in this case, it's survival shit in general. I am like, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I'm really into fucking the prepper survival type mindset right now. I just think it's a good idea to I'm kind of going a little hard into it, and I'm going to back off a little bit soon. But I like to learn, like, I've just bought fucking books about like southeastern foraging, being able to identify certain plants
I
and
was
shit.
just gonna say that's what
That's very useful, dude.
my friend got a guide like that of all like our native plants that are toxic and poisonous.
Yep.
You ever watch that Into the Wild? I think it is.
Yes,
It goes
yes.
up to Alaska. That's
Yes.
very good. Which he actually
It
used
was.
the wrong plant and poisoned himself.
Yes, and that's very big. So what I've heard is if you don't have a guide or you're not sure of your identification, you shouldn't just use one thing like color. It needs to be shape, color, leaves, whatever, several of them. But like if you're not certain, you take a tiny little amount of it, even if you're starving. It's better than poisoning yourself. And you take it and you wait a couple of hours and see how your body responds.
There is apps now for your phone. It's like a leaf ID thing, which you can just have your phone like scan the leaf and it'll tell you what plant it is.
That's awesome. And that's good for training, but you're not going to have a cell phone in a survival environment because your battery's going to die eventually. You can use a solar bank to a certain extent, but you're still not going to be able to use it constantly.
I just saw this thing that you can get. It's like it almost looks like an umbrella, but you open it up and it turns into a little wind generator, which then can use to
What
charge
the
your phone.
fuck? I haven't heard of that. Is it
If I see it, I'll
expensive?
post it up. No, it looks very inexpensive. It's just like a little wind turbine that you can pop out and be anywhere and capture the wind.
Dude, that is a fucking game breaker if it can be fairly compact and you can carry it in a pack. Because if you can't, you're not going to get it out into the middle of nowhere.
That's what I mean. It's like an umbrella when it's cased up like an umbrella and in like a case and stuff. It's basically that size, but a little more round.
Yes. On the water thing, that's one of the first things. That's the most important because you can go like 3 weeks without food. You can only go 3 days without water. After it's not even that simple because after a day, your joints lock up and you're basically useless. Water is priority 1. Maybe besides shelter, it depends on your situation. If you're in a fucking like blizzard or some shit, you might want to deal with shelter first, but you get the idea. But I've already taken care of that. I like the Sawyer purifier. It's a really great system. But even if you don't have that, as long as you have access to fire, you can boil it, which is going to take care of a vast majority of anything you need to worry about.
Which it's parasitic mostly. You want the parasites that are in
and
water.
Those will die with very quickly in boiling. The only thing that you might have to worry about after that is chemicals, and that's due to our shit, fucking humans. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, you're probably good when it comes to chemicals.
Which I've seen these things they actually send them to Africa. They're straws with a filter built into them. So basically you stick the straw right in a mud puddle and suck up clean water.
Life straws is one. It's probably what you're talking about. And they're great, but they're not good for large scale, long-term shit. That's why I like the Sawyer because I bought a platypus bag, which is like a 2-liter bag that's highly durable. And what you do is you can use a gravity feed system. There's 3 different ways to use it. But you take the dirty like bag, it's like a plastic collapsible bag, and you fill it up to like 2 liters of like in a creek or a stream or whatever. And then you take it and you attach the filter and put the other end on the clean platypus bag. And it'll take a little bit of time, but it's relatively quick. And it filters it for you. You can also clean it out with like a plunger that comes with it. And it can last for a very long time.
That's pretty cool. Most of the old ways was just like having a plastic tent over a boiling pot of water, and then you collect the steam will.
That's awesome. And that also is a very effective method. So water to me was the first thing I needed to work on, and I think I'm good on that. Then again, there's always the possibility that I'm ignorant on a topic and I just didn't know I needed to know about it. It's hard to account for those.
You can get iodine.
You can, but what I don't like about it is it requires you have tablets or the iodine itself. It's only going to last so long. Yep. So I prefer to skip that and go straight to more long-term. Like the filter itself doesn't require anything but the bags, the water, even the dirty water, and the filter itself and the container it's going to go into. And if you have that, it can last probably 5 to 10 years if you take really good care of it. But even then, you don't need that because boiling does all of this. What the iodine and any of this does is it just makes it more convenient. If you boil water, you're good. I mean, you're in the middle of the wilderness at least.
I mean,
There are
so
things
also
that
you can make
survive higher temperatures. Like I forget, like 148, I think is
Yes.
the ultimate temperature to go to, or somewhere around that kind of shit.
Yes.
Which is well above boiling anyway.
That is true.
You know, but yes, you're dead right.
Well,
For
Celsius.
water, you can't
So
really
for us,
do.
it's like 200 degrees for boiling.
Exactly, but it's still well and truly above water being a liquid.
Well, and it
So
also depends on your altitude. So water boils at different altitudes. So if you're up in the mountains,
yeah.
That is true, and that's something that has to be factored in. That I hadn't even thought about that.
But I don't think anywhere on Earth you get to the point where you can do water at 150 degrees Celsius. That's like another 50% between ice and gas of water. That's what 50 degrees Celsius is. So I don't know what the Fahrenheit is. That's why I said it like that. But that's a lot. I think going even up to Mount Everest is only like a 5 to 8 degrees Celsius
well, I know
change
that's how they
with
figured
the
out
pressure change.
elevation for the longest time. Like people would go and then they went to see what temperature the water boils at, and then that told them what altitude they are at.
And of course, in a laboratory, we can do all of these extreme things. Don't get me wrong. I'm not,
That is awesome.
yeah,
so, Austin, to answer your question, I have already learned how to make a bow and arrow on my own. Although I might want to brush up on it and watch the video at least one more time. But I prefer, I think eventually I'm going to buy a compact breakdown recurve bow because they're the best for this particular purpose, like a survival scenario.
I've always wanted one of them.
But I don't want a compound bow because it has too many moving parts and it will break too easily for a long-term situation.
The string.
You see that?
Part.
Yes.
Nah, there's my one, sort of. No, you can't see it
Is it
properly.
no, I can't completely
bow.
see it. Oh, see, compound bows are the best in terms of that is the best technology that we've come to so far. But they have too many moving parts to be good for a survival situation. You're gonna one of those what are they? The pulley lever or one of the deals. One of those is eventually going to wear down, and you're fucked.
Yeah, the cam.
I had my jacket zip get caught in my last pulley lever, and it fucked the whole bow up.
Right, but what you have is perfect for its intended purpose. Like you could always just replace it if something broke. You're good. But you can't do that in a survival situation, which is why a breakdown recurve bow is the best for that.
Yeah. They're pretty powerful. It'll put a bolt or an arrow through one car door and into the next.
Oh, yeah. They're the most powerful. You can't get, I don't think, unless I'm wrong, I don't think you can get more powerful than a compound bow. That's its advantage. And there's so many luxuries you can add to it, like sights, and it's almost like a gun at this point. You can do so much to them.
Yeah, I had one as a kid.
Mine's the most basic of basic. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Hunting and clothing I'm working on. I'm not anywhere near. So I'm learning how to hunt deer. And personally, even before I get in any sort of survival situation, I'm going to allow, and I've already talked about this before, I believe that it doesn't invalidate the vegan belief, because vegan, a lot of people misunderstand. Vegan does not simply mean you never harm animals. What it means is it's a philosophy. You harm animals to the least amount with practicable. That's how it's typically defined, which means how much harm are you causing? Deer, and I've already made this point, deer are an animal that gets overpopulated quickly. We can prove this. It's measurable. It harms the ecosystem because there's too many of them, and it throws everything off balance because we humans are pieces of shit, motherfuckers. We fucked shit up and took away their natural predator, mainly wolves. That's the second one. Actually, in my region, you're more right. It's more mountain lions than anything. But yeah, between those two,
wow,
we have fucked up the ecosystem, and there's too many deer. So it causes more harm than good, which means hunting is actually, from a utilitarian perspective, it's a good thing.
We've got mountain lions, and you guys whinge about our spiders. Fucking hell.
But we don't have that many mountain lions. Is the deal? Is because we've killed
We
them.
don't
all.
have that many spiders. No.
Well, that's us being ignorant. I don't understand what the truth is of Australia. I have sort of a stereotype of Australia. Like I don't know how bad it really is.
Like everything there wants.
Well, I don't want to ruin it for comedic effect, you know.
That's the stereotype, is that every single fucking thing there is designed to want to kill you and you're fucked.
Well, they have the
Yeah.
5 most venomous snakes there. The top 5.
Mate, if I say otherwise, then you guys will come down and take us over all the time. All the fucking, you know.
that
So
might
we've
be
got to keep
true.
up our,
That
we've got
might
to
be
keep
true.
up our facade, you know.
Yes.
Well, America will start funding the emus, and then the emus will take you over.
Yeah. All the rabbits. We've got a big rabbit fence too. Fucking no,
So
it's red ants currently.
With the hunting is
Fire
good remark, I agree, depending on what you're hunting. Everything that humans hunt is not like overpopulated and a fucked up ecosystem. Deer are for certain, but I don't know. I have to look into other things like turkeys. Do they have an overpopulation issue? Because if not, I think it's wrong. It's
Yeah.
dependent on what you're hunting.
Like where I'm from, we used to see flocks of turkeys. Like you'd be driving down the road and you just see like 30 turkeys in the field. Now you barely see any. Like even
Right.
the deer, though, the deer here population is just dwindled to nothing.
You can come up, Melody, but we don't have a lot of time. But you can
8
feel
minutes.
free. Yeah, I've got to stick to my shit because again, like always, I freaking go on and on and on. But this time it's literally an hour. Wait, normally I'm 8 to 10. Yeah, it's going to be an hour over.
I was only going to mow the lawns.
Learn to breed. Well, the problem is, see, for my purposes, it's not for me. I don't agree with using animals just for our purposes. The point that I'm making with deer is that we are not involved in the situation at all. There's too many and it's harming the ecosystem. So then I think it's okay for humans to get involved to balance it out. But the end goal here is not me. It's just an added bonus that I get to eat some deer meat. Like,
Which is very good.
yes. Well, especially when that's the only meat you allow yourself. So like, that's the only meat I can have unless I find that there's some other sort of game that is also an overpopulation problem. Like that's all I get to eat, period,
Human?
is deer. That's it. I'm fine with that, but I hear that there's downsides to that. Like it might fuck you up and cause some sort of, I don't know all the science behind it, but apparently,
Human disease.
yes, like there's some sort of science behind it. Like we
Don't eat
are
the brains.
genetically engineered not to fucking eat people.
Don't
Because
eat the brains and it's low nutrition value.
yeah, so it just
That's
doesn't
about it.
work out. Doesn't work out. But outside of that, morality wise, I don't give a shit because people in general, I see people as just not good, I guess.
Can always eat the other white meat, which is cat. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding.
Well, he usually has one of them around.
No, I
Do
like
you eat
cats.
eggs? Like being vegan, do you eat egg? No.
Vegan is not milk, eggs, any sort of taking animals to use animals for human ends. One of the things here is that there's a belief, and it's sort of a myth, that eggs and milk, oh, that's nothing. You're just, milking the cow, and with the eggs, you're just taking their eggs after that's not true. With industrial practices, they are heavily, they're bred specifically for that purpose.
Mhm.
And it, like chickens, for example, they're bred to lay more eggs, and they get fractures. Their bones break easily because they're bred for that purpose. It's not natural. Their lives are miserable. And also
You can
short.
get more free
Three
range.
chickens. We have 3 chickens, and 2 of them at least don't lay eggs. I think one of them does. This third one's smaller and doesn't have a tail and lays them when she feels like. But they're not fertilized, so she
that
breeds them.
is fine. Far better than what I'm talking about.
Yeah, these ones used to lay eggs, but it was over the summers are too hot and we're slack, so they got left out for too long. So we didn't know which ones were good and bad, so we hardly ever ate them or when we
Right.
did, there'd be too many that were not viable, like, you know, different colored insides and shit. So
Right. Well,
yeah, I
that's
stopped eating them all together.
that's far better
Yeah.
than literally
There we go.
just for
Mum was
human
saying about that
purposes
later.
or just for profit at least. Like,
Mm.
let's literally breed animals to where their ever waking moment is fucking torture. Like,
Well,
you can
it doesn't
disagree
bother me
with me.
that us don't lay. They eat all our slop, leftover food and shit like that. They're
Right, well,
babies, and
that's
it's fun
great.
having them there.
Right. That's
Well, exactly.
there's nothing
good
wrong with that.
control.
I
They eat a
see
lot
no
of-
problem with that. Yeah, that's great. But like, okay, so this goes into a little bit different argument, but like I agree, I believe, I don't think what you're talking about is particularly heinous or bad or anything, but just
No,
but just
yeah.
ideologically, personally, even if I had chickens, I wouldn't eat the eggs, period, because I believe they're not for me. And it's just like, for one, even if like they're not viable or whatever, or they're not gonna hatch or whatever, like it is shown that the act of actually laying the eggs itself depletes their nutrients, and oftentimes naturally they will eat their own eggs to replenish those nutrients. And to me, that is far more moral than me going, hey, this came from your body and whatever, I'm going to take it because I can. That's just my opinion, but I will say that, like, in comparison to my big problem, which is like industrial practices, that's like a big nothing burger. It's not that big of a deal.
I did think of
Mm.
something else you could eat. Wild pig. Wild pigs are super
Is that an
invasive.
overpopulation issue?
They were brought here from Europe and they breed like 10 times a year.
Well, fuck
They're-
yeah, because I need meat, dude. Like, I need meat, but not break my moral compass, because to me, that's what veganism is about. I don't eat vegan for health. It helps that it's like an added bonus, makes it easier to stick to, but it's keeping my morals intact. So if I can find ways to eat meat and keep my morals, fuck yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah, they're super
I
invasive.
love it. I really do. So you'll eat cancerous bacon.
Well,
Bacon
hold
apparently is
on.
full
So
of
hold on. So
carcinogens.
you're right. You're right. So look, my point that I was making a minute
kidding.
ago. I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's a valid point though. So we get into the line. So I'm not saying I just want to eat any junk. Period. I don't give a fuck about my health. What I'm saying is my reason for being vegan is not about that. But I
understand.
I don't want to go like eating pure fucking bacon all the damn time, because you're gonna die of a stroke in like 5 years or
Clogged
some shit.
arteries. Yeah.
Yeah, so it matters for sure. But I'm just saying that you don't need to be a vegan to care about your health.
Which fishing
And
would be a
dingoes
good
put up
way.
a good example though. Rabbit, because they spread like rabbits.
Not here.
It's
Sorry.
not just whether they multiply quickly, is do they pose a problem for the ecosystem? If they don't, then my answer is no. I'm not going to hunt it. I'm not going to. And by the way, I'm only going to get it if I personally make the kill. I need to be able to know that it's a humane kill, which only I can know. Like, I need to be able to be willing to take that deer's life, for example, and I need to quickly close the gap and be willing to make another like shot or a knife or whatever to make sure it's not suffering more than is necessary. And I need to be willing to fucking dress it myself to get those organs out, which is going to take research and knowledge and shit that I don't currently
It's not that
have.
hard. You just
Yeah.
slice them up the belly and just get in there. You just cut them loose.
The
basically, and
basics
just
that
rip
I
'em
heard
out.
is most animals, including fish, is similar. Like, you start from the anus and then you go all the way up the belly to like the sternum region.
Mhm.
Open
to
it
the breast
up.
bone.
Yes. And almost all are similar or pretty much the same, which is great. That means I don't have to learn so damn much. But I believe that I need to be willing to do that, so that even fish. I just recently learned so much about fish that I took for, like, I didn't know. Like,
I grew
fish
up
are
with them.
actually very intelligent, and it's not just painful, it is excruciating to them the way normal people fish. You have them on a hook, you take any moment that they're out of the water, they're in extreme pain. Like, so what you should do, there's a name for it, but I can't think of it. It's a Japanese word. But what they do is they bonk it on the head. I know I'm being very scientific with bonk, but you hit it on the head with some sort of blunt object directly above the eyes, and it renders them unconscious to where they can't feel anything. And then you take a spike or a blade or something, and you jam it directly above their eyes, like somewhere in this region in their head. You jam it directly into their brain, and you kind of move it around a little bit, and then they're dead, completely dead. Because to me, it's just wrong to cause. One, they're not stupid like we used to think. Like they have these sayings like stupid as a goldfish. You have a 3-second like memory span. That's not true. All that is
they
myth.
remember for like 3 months.
Exactly. And even Rash pointed out that like he had that fish learn that they know to avoid a hook and shit for long periods of time. They're actually intelligent. They're not stupid, which means it's even more wrong that like the typical way that people fish. You just let them sit in like an ice bath so that it takes hours for them to finally succumb. It's the same thing as torture for a human, in my opinion. Not exactly the same, but it's wrong. It's just, to me, it's immoral.
It's like reverse drowning. So if you're like to hold somebody under the water and watch them drown, it's like the reverse for them. You pull them out of the water, they're suffocating in the air.
Yes. But before I go further, I'm 2 minutes past. I've got to go.
Alrighty.
I appreciate it, guys. It was.
You turned the mic off before you.
Sorry, I'm special. So as always, good conversation. See you next week if you're available.
See you then. Later.